So this is where we're at today. The people who still are waiting to get computers, I want to keep the faith, right? Don't lose your cool. You can't expect the school to actually step up when things go down, uh, because frankly, it isn't the school's job to do that. They're actually acquiring it because they want to be helpful. The ethic of our school is try to help everyone, but there was no provision for full-blown computers for everybody. So here's where we're at. I am pressuring the department to get busy with that, right? I've been in contact with them regularly, right? The ability for you to get a proper full-blown computer. So what they're saying is they don't want you using Chromebooks in here, right? But they still not nailed down how to get us something better. So this is where we're at. I am really hoping that this is fixed before I see you next week. So I'm going to be sending out notices as soon as there's a system for those of you who want to borrow a computer to do it. So we're talking one level up. If you got friends who filled out forms for the Chromebook, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something upgraded from there, suitable for animation. You know, it doesn't only exhaust animators, it exhausts the computer. So guys, listen, I'm going to move on. As I said, there's 17 people who said they're prepared. I hope they were being direct and not lazy, right? Because the price will be paid now. I already sent in your names to the department and said these people are waiting, right? Even though I didn't get instructions, I've been, leaning. So those of you who don't have a computer, keep the faith, take notes, try to stay interested, do whatever it takes to stay alert. The videos will be posted. So as soon as your computer arrives, if you want to retake any of the lessons, you're going to watch the video. All right, so I hope that everybody in need understands that. I'm on your side. We are trying to do something rather unusual, loaning really expensive equipment out to students, and we're just having a hard time getting that started. Does anyone want to ask me anything about the computer question? You know, by all means, just turn on your mic, ask. I guess that's pretty clear. Listen, I want to screen share with you right now so that things are a little bit clearer, right? I do want to just double check something. I want to just be sure that everyone's arrived. Give me 1 second here. The Zoom's a little stubborn about showing me all of you at once, which is really what I wanted to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20 people. All right, we're short only one person. That means it's just about a full house. Folks, if you're new to this class, right, because you missed first week, I'm not going to be mad because life happens first week. You might have been with swapping your schedule around, right? But going forward, don't miss any classes, right? Including today, including them all, there's 15. You already missed one, you're down to 14. You're here today, that's good. Don't miss any, right? They're going to be intense and very rewarding, right? Don't come late. By the way, if you come to my class and you come 5 minutes late as a habit, and most of you are home, just try telling me that at the subway, right? Which is the standard one, right? How could you be late when you're home? Come on time. You know something? Animators are about time. They're all about time and timing. Work on your timing. I mean, really, like a third of the class was late. 7 of you were late. What is it? Getting from the bed to the computer? The long walk. I'm being sarcastic. Anyway, I'm trying to inspire you. Let's get it together. All right, listen, I'm going to screen share right now. So I'm clicking my screen share. When your turn comes to screen share, because you will at some point over the semester, we're going to choose desktop at all points because it lets you choose any number of programs. But if you choose the desktop, you could show me anything you want to show me. I can't poke around, but you choose what to show me. All right, folks, listen, I know everybody's anxious to move into actually animating. We do have a little bit of stuff we have to catch up on. I got a big agenda today for creative agenda, but I want to go over a couple things. The address where you got today's handout is all important. We're looking at it right now, iraworks.com/BMCC. Make sure you have it at your fingertips. Put a shortcut on your desktop or wherever you're going to be working so you can get here quickly. Every Friday, just before 9 o'clock, right? If you're smart, you want to be on time, 5 to 9, go to this website. Find the only menu that has your name, your class name on it, and choose that class. It'll have the number of the session and the date, so you can never get lost. Notice I added a link today that says get Adobe CC free. Now, some of you already did that, some of you have not. I'm not going to go to that link right now because I want to go at it a different way. But I do want to say something. If you're sitting at a reasonable Macintosh right now, or anything running Windows, not Android, and you did not get your free copy of Adobe CC, you have a good choice while I'm lecturing. Can you do it while I'm talking? Is that even possible? If it is possible, try it and be ready for class because we're going to be using it today, right? So this is one way to do it. I'm going to go right to the handout because I want to show you the way I'm most comfortable communicating. All right, guys, it's Friday. You got to be tired, right? A lot of you guys are in your 20s. People in their 20s don't like waking up at this time. So I'm going to slow down just a little bit. Step one is always go to that website and get the handout. Everything you need, everything is going to be on that handout. Everything. Now, I got a question for you before I start going over the background stuff we need to cover. How many of you got my email about loading Adobe Animate? So if you got my email, can you raise your hand or give me a thumbs up? That is surprisingly few people. Now, what that means to me, because I sent you all your email and you're all listed on Blackboard right now, I actually checked. Now, maybe I made a mistake, and missed one or two of you are not even on Blackboard. I guess if you registered at the last minute, that's possible. I put announcements on Blackboard and I click a button that automatically sends them as email. This is Friday, I sent it on Wednesday. You have to check your BMCC email this semester if you want to succeed at college. Right, so I'm going to back off and be more gentle about it. It's a drag, right? You don't really want to be checking that on your days off, right? So don't do it on Saturday and Sunday then, but do it every other day, once a day. If you had done that, you would be ready for class today. It's like going to a drawing class without the drawing pad. All right. So then I'm going to jump forward though, since only a few of you are actually prepared, right? This is the same link you just saw on the homepage. To get the temporary free Adobe Creative Cloud subscription, follow the instructions on this page. So listen, I want to figure out the best way to handle this because I want everyone with a computer to join me today. So I'm taking a screenshot right now. That's my version of attendance, right? If you want to go follow those instructions now, do it, right? That means you have a computer. All you got to do is get the computer ready. Even if you're half listening to me, that's okay. Even if for 10 minutes you're not listening to me, I think you'll be okay. But I want you to have the tool. Yes, Joseph?
I've been having trouble since last semester that won't let me access Adobe Creative Cloud through the BMCC email.
Really?
Yeah,
And you followed all those instructions to the T and it just would not work?
Yeah, it just shows me an error message saying unknown user or something like that.
Really? And you're definitely using the same username you use for your BMCC email?
Yes, is it okay if I share screen?
Give me 1 minute though. I want to ask Tiffany a question. Tiffany, are you using that system? Are you using, I don't know if you have your own account or if you're using the free access or not?
I'm still using the one that I'm still using my BMCC email,
Right.
and it's still working for me since last semester.
Got it. So just extended into now. Has anyone else tried and had a hard time accessing, going through the instructions, but they still would not work? Watson, are you trying to tell me something? Your box lit up for a second there.
What you call it? No, I was gonna say that like I haven't been able to use my BMCC email for quite some time, so I've been using my other email for like other stuff. So if you actually have been messaging me,
So Watson, you're saying you can't use your email from VMCC at all, right?
yeah.
Not just to get into Adobe.
Oh no, I don't even have I don't even have a proper computer. Apparently now.
All right. You're going to need to be extra clear to be able to move forward, right? Because we're mixing issues. So even without a computer, you should be able to get your email. No? Can you guys get your email on a different device? The BMCC email should be accessible without a computer. So that's a separate question. So do you know if your email is working? You're implying that it's a computer problem, but do you know if your email is working at all? Or you just don't know?
I don't know. I should actually talk to someone about that separate issue.
All right. You know what? Let me just take a note because I want to be there for you guys, and things have gotten a little complicated. I just want to take a quick note. So let me just check one thing. Okay. So you have a Chromebook, though, am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. So I have to tell you, if they're sluggish about getting us proper computers, I might try this on a Chromebook. I'm going to tell you more about how that would go, but I might resort to trying it. You should surely be able to get your email on a Chromebook.
Yeah, I can. It's just I don't. I just can't get my BMCC email up. I haven't used it in quite some time.
I gotcha. All right, so that's probably going to interfere with you getting the Adobe Creative Cloud. So you and I are going to have to figure out what to do about it. I took some notes so I could try to wrap my mind around what the best steps are. Did anybody else try to get into Creative Cloud and couldn't? So listen, we're going to borrow Joseph's as an opportunity, Joseph's situation, just to see if there's something to learn about it. Joseph, I'm going to turn off my screen sharing because even though Zoom says they're letting me share and you, it doesn't. So I have to turn mine off for a second.
Okay.
Give me 1 second here. Just want to make sure. Also, give me. Hey, can I ask you guys a question? Are you getting a record symbol?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because Zoom's driving me crazy. Like nowadays, I can't tell if I'm recording or not because the symbol disappeared.
Professor, I forgot where you go to the find your YouTube videos for the class.
The link's on the handout. Look at the top. It says video in bold. All right, I'm going to stop sharing so Joseph can share. It's your turn, Joseph.
Okay.
So I would choose desktop if it gives you a choice. Great.
Well, this is the Creative
right.
Cloud, like
I
that.
follow you.
Yeah.
So yeah, type in your email address. That's no secret.
So Marila says that her computer isn't compatible with the apps.
Right. Could you find out what kind of computer she has?
So this
right.
is my email.
I see that. Oh, okay. Can I stop for 1 second? I'd like you to cancel.
Okay.
So, Tiffany, I want your feedback on this. He was using the @login dot etc., not @bmcc.cuny.edu. Do you know what I mean? That's why, Joseph, if you could back out so you could log in again, that would be great.
Okay, hang on.
So it's supposed to be the first name dot last name and the last two numbers of your ID
Right.
at login.cuny.edu.
It is?
Yeah, that's how the students are supposed to
I see. So it's
sign in.
not at bmcc.cuny.edu.
Yeah, it's this one. Although 51 aren't the last two numbers of my ID, that would be 53. But I use this one to enter all my like Blackboard or CUNY first.
So what are you saying about 53?
53 is actually the last two digits of my.
I see.
No, wait, no. No, yeah, 51. Sorry. No, that is the last two digits of my.
All right.
So I click on continue and then it brings me here to username as well. I type in the same thing. Joseph dot.
Yeah, we'll wait. Like, this is you know, important, and last semester it took a while for people to get in, you know, also. Like I say, I really do love the remote classes. The only thing I don't like is all the equipment problems.
Yeah, so here it is. Here's my username. Here's the email, and I already put the password in.
Yeah, it's funny, I'm not seeing it. It just says loading Creative Cloud.
Oh shoot, hold on. Let me try something different for screen share then.
Yeah, I would always choose desktop when it offers you, you know, 6, 7 choices, because the desktop means you could show me whatever you want. You could switch between programs and show it to me.
Let me just stop it and try to use desktop then. But it doesn't give me that option. It only shows me screen, whiteboard, and the tabs that I have open.
Really? All right, screen.
Can you see everything now?
Yep.
That's my login account.
Great.
It transports me over here. Right, the same thing. And then the password that I've always used. Then it gives me that.
Gotcha. All right. All right, you could stop the screen sharing in so you know what I'm going to have to find out, Joseph? I want to know you know, who's best for you to contact to fix this, because it's actually well out of the range of what I can do. You know, it's definitely an IT problem. So have you reached out to anybody about this already?
I reached out to last semester because that happened to me as well, but they never fixed it or anything.
All right, let me take a note right now, because I'm going to write somebody myself today. Just give
Yeah,
me a second
because
here.
I already tried different computers and everything, and it was still like that. It was more on my account.
Okay. So, Joseph, you're going to have to check your email. If I'm lucky and get any good information for you, I'm going to send it to your BMCC email, right? That's why I'm concerned that when anyone tells me they can't access their email, that's the only way I'm willing to reach you, because I have hundreds of students. So I send notices out in bulk. But Joseph, I feel bad that you won't be able to work with the Adobe software today, right? But you seem like a very alert, diligent guy. Let's hope that we can get this solved as soon as possible. In the meantime, take the class, take notes.
Okay.
Right? I wish I had something better for you, but I don't currently. You know, but thanks for showing me that, because I know other people are having that and their issue, and they're probably just not speaking up. So I appreciate that you're being that forward about it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Tiffany, do you have something to add?
So Marilla has a Windows.
Okay.
Not sure like how old or anything. And Michael says that he needs to restart his computer, so he might
Okay,
have
that's
to
fine.
have
So
to check.
Marilla's issue was what?
I don't really know. She says she has a Windows. I'm not sure how old or.
Right, and she's saying that she can't get into the Creative Cloud. It says it's not compatible, right?
Mhm. It's not compatible, she says.
She's going to have to find out the model and the date of that computer and let us know. We can't help her without that information. You know, so that she's going to have to figure that out. And if she doesn't know how to figure that out, she's going to have to Google search, how do I find the model of my computer? And that kind of thing. There's too many kinds of computers in this room, and there's too many people. If you want to help her during class via chat, you can do that. But we need that information, or we can't really get her the software. So, guys, listen. I'm going to go back to the handout, and I just want to say something to everybody here. We're going to have to be as generous as we can for each other. Life takes so much patience when you care about anyone other than oneself, right? But that's really what's required. To make sure that I'm fair to the people who are lucky enough to be equipped, as well as those that are not, I have to shut the door on this conversation for now, right? So there's two issues I'm trying to deal with. One is getting people computers who are sure that they need them. And the second one is getting us all the software. Again, keep me informed. Send me clear emails. Please speak in full sentences to me. Really, if to be honest, if one can't find the energy to be clear or complete, don't expect me to find the energy to be helpful. You know, that's completely no one's job but your own. So please let me know what's happening in the clearest way you can, right? So I'm going to move forward, and this is what we're going to do. I want to look at the handout again. I do need to talk about this just a little bit longer because of some things coming up. So I want to make sure everybody's clear about it. And then I'm going to start demonstrating in Adobe Animate, and I'm going to ask those in the class who can to join me, and everybody else to try to stay as alert as possible. There's always going to be obstacles, right? And it's the people who become tough enough to stick with it that succeed in the end and have the great stories. I want to get back to screen sharing. All right. So someone was asking me, this is the link to the videos, right? It's really hard to miss. It's in bold, right? The link beneath it is the videos. There's only one video posted so far, the one from last week. Today we're going to cover everything that we need to. So really today's class is more important. I will be posting that later today, what happens. So I just want to say, in general, the biggest element to succeeding in this class, so I mean learning useful stuff and getting high grades, is the homework. Right? And there's going to be probably about a dozen homeworks. So there's a lot of homework in this class. The homework's done light will take half an hour to an hour. Homework done seriously for someone who wants to excel is going to take longer, right? Because it's an art form. So that's the number one thing. You want to participate, and that means coming, watching videos when necessary, and doing all the homework. So homework starts today. So a couple people might be slightly behind, and I'm going to be very, very generous, opening up the doors to extended deadlines until we have all the technology in place. So don't worry about being marked late. You're not going to be marked late. But if you're ready, just do the work on time. All the Zoom meetings are going to have the same link. They're going to show up in a similar look on every handout. So this is easy stuff to get here. We've talked quite a bit today about the computer situation. Chromebooks are not preferable for this class, but if push comes to shove, I'm going to try to figure out how to make them work. Tablets will not work. Cell phones would not work. I want to say a quick thing about Flash, since I got that question in a chat. Flash is dead. You can't get Flash if you tried. It died a couple of years ago. No more Flash, right? Flash gave birth to Adobe Animate. Naftali's glad to hear that. I guess you had troubles with Flash. I was sad because Flash made me a real lot of money and gave me many hours of very satisfying work. But the reason I'm not sad anymore is its child, Adobe Animate, blows Flash completely out of the water. So anyone who knows how to use Flash could just sit down and use Adobe Animate, but it's got all kinds of crazy stuff. It's got moving cameras, you know, it's got layer depths, and it's got all kinds of ways to export useful files. It's got automatic lip syncing, which is really only semi-automatic. I was kidding there, by the way. Your audio did not go out. We want to do some lip syncing this semester. We all used to have to do it manually. This semester, I may teach the automatic feature. This is all in Adobe Animate. It's a hardcore program, the child of Adobe Flash. So it basically means there's really no way to complete this class until I've got you all ready to run with the computer and the software. All right, so this is what I got for you in way of computers. We're just gonna have to wait. So if you don't have an accessible computer, I'm really mad that we do not have the steps yet. But I'm taking a preemptive strike, and I'm keeping a list of whatever you tell me about your needs. And you know, I have been reaching out to the head of the department, who's probably overwhelmed, and I'm gonna continue doing that, you know, until I get the contacts of who's gonna take care of our issues. But to reach me, this is the only email that you should be using. I do check my BMCC email, but there's a flood of email there. This is when I check on you guys, just this group. And if you need a computer, make sure that's in the subject, and please tell me why. Don't speak in little fragments, right? Seriously, you gotta let me know as much information as you can so I can help. Listen, folks, as much as I wish I could just drop the subject at this point, I got to say something about the free subscription because it's relentless. I was told that it's only till September 30th, the free subscription. That just stinks.
Wow, that ended on my birthday.
Does it?
Yes.
Oh, well, I know a birthday wish you should make.
Made it
So listen, the
longer.
thing is, Adobe's changed that several times. They gave us a month, and they gave us 3 months. Now they added another month. So it's the easiest way in because this will load on the local computer. Guys, I need you to join me in something. It's more of a web IT thing. When you're holding a computer that's local, if you're running a computer that's not there, it's remote. So the best way for us to do this is for you to load the Creative Cloud Suite locally on a computer that's in your hands or on your desk. That's what we want. Thing is, if Adobe stops offering us that free subscription, we're all going to have to make a choice. Do you buy it or do you try remote access? Local is what you want. It means you got it. All's good. It's 17 bucks a month last I looked. I promised to double check, but I haven't done that yet. Is that a lot of money? Yeah, for some of us, it's a lot of money, man. If that's your food money, that sucks, or your Metro card. But if you really want to be an animator, that's just not a lot of money. You know, really, when I learned this, it was hundreds of dollars for each program. I'm talking about 17 bucks a month for all of them. So, you know, some of you are going to make that choice and just say, I'm just going to pay for it, you know. You could switch between computers, but you'll pay for it, and you'll be able to log in yourself. That'll be one option. But I'm not going to force that on anybody because it's just not fair. So what we're going to do next, when this runs out, for anyone who really just doesn't want to buy it, and I can't blame you, right, we're going to use this, remote access. So I got to tell you something about remote access quickly. I tried it. So I've been dreading this for months, right? Because it sounded really awkward. Last night, they finally came through. They said, these are the initial steps. They said, we haven't ironed out the steps yet, but we want you to know it's currently working. I couldn't wait, so within 5 minutes, I tried it. So I'm sitting at a 15-inch MacBook Pro, and I remotely connected to labs at Fitterman Hall, which I think a lot of you know Fitterman, right? And I went into a classroom. It was so weird. I picked a computer, and I started running it at home. What made it even weirder was I couldn't find a Mac. So on my Mac, I'm running Windows in a window. This is my whole Macintosh, and there's this window that looks like a different desktop. all blue, Microsoft looking thing. The weird little, I'm not a big Windows fan, only because I'm a Mac expert. And there I'm like, I'm trying to deal with it. I'm looking for a computer, looking for Adobe Animate on a computer elsewhere. Oh my God. The weirdest part of it was the computer I was borrowing had a bigger screen than mine. So I had this window that I could drag it down to see the menus on the top, drag it up to see the bar at the bottom because the screen was bigger than my screen. Can you imagine that? So yeah, there were a few problems, but I have to say it was really promising. It worked, except for I had pretty much the same issue that we were talking about a few minutes ago. I couldn't log into Adobe. It's possible that Adobe's not letting teachers do that, right? So I had the same problem as Joseph, right? It's possible that I'm not allowed to do that. Why did I even want to do that? Just so I knew it would work for you. Because if the Creative Cloud subscription really does expire last day of September, right? We're all going to need to remote access. Right? So I needed to know it was going to work, even though I don't plan to use it during this semester. So here's the lowdown. I got to wrap the subject up. We all got to get the computers. Those of you who don't have them, we're dealing with it. We all need the software. I definitely prefer the free Adobe Creative Cloud account. I'm not even going to talk more about remote access unless it becomes urgent. And I'm going to delay that at least till next week and possibly to the end of September. You know, Naftali, if we can't get you that computer anytime soon, we may try remote access, you and I, through your Chromebook and see if we can get that to work. The reason they don't want us doing it for this class is it's slower and animation is time dependent. So I really would rather avoid that, at least till you get a better machine. So I'll keep you posted as best we can.
Okay.
So there you have it, guys. I'm not going to bore you with the remote access steps till it becomes necessary, because I'll completely overwhelm everybody. I almost overwhelmed myself. But I tried it, so it's promising. It's not a myth. It's actually real. Now, before I move into the real stuff, the stuff I was hired to teach, the stuff you want to do, right? I want to ask you all to be brave, right? I'm going to soften the vibe, right? Because we're all dealing with all kinds of weirdness this year. Does anybody have any questions for me? Really, I'm opening the door to anything. Nobody really? Are you guys just being shy? So like 10 of you have your cameras off, even though I told you you need to have your camera on. Right? I'm really not making it an option unless you're having the world's worst hair day.
I have a question.
Yeah. Yes.
Wait, are questions pertaining to today's class, or like more just like the whole?
For the moment, ask me any question. If I can answer it, I will.
Okay. The program that we're going to be using to animate stuff.
Right.
How like in depth and detail are we getting?
That's a fair question. So I go into too much detail. When I'm not around, you can ask Tiffany if that's true, because she's too polite if I'm sitting here. But yeah,
I should know since I took your multimedia class before.
Was that detailed?
Very.
So this class is going to be like that plus, because animation's much harder. So I want to be really kind of frank with everybody here. If you enjoy challenges, if that's what keeps you lively, and you love watching animation and you like art, you're in the right place. If you like animation, you like art, but you don't like working hard, run. It's incredibly difficult. I just have to tell you, it takes so. If you're saying I'm not patient, run. Some others might have taken MMP100 with me, Intro to Multimedia. This might strike you as easier just because it's your choice, because hopefully it's something you love. But just to be honest with you, as a guy who's a multimedia artist for real, it's one of the most exhausting art forms that I engage. I love it. It's so rewarding, but it's like you got to have tunnel vision. You got to be that type of person who gets so intense you don't know that 4 hours passed. And all you did was make someone take a few steps. You know, we're going to do walk cycles. Let me give you an example of how this is going to go. Today's going to be fairly easy. How do you draw using the tools in Adobe Animate? How do you make things move? Now there's 3, 4, 5 ways to make things move. So we're going to start with a very basic one, and you probably find it easy, I hope. Each week, we're going to learn different techniques to make things move till we get into the advanced steps. At that stage, we're going to start moving into animation in terms of the art form of how do you make something move feel more real. There's 12 principles we're going to discuss, some of them coming from Disney. But once we got those principles like squash and stretch, you know, if something hits a wall, it has to change form, right? So if it doesn't change form, it's unrealistic, unless it's a diamond hitting a wall, right? And in a cartoon, even the diamond would change form. So all those concepts are going to be there on the table. But then what I'm really looking forward to is these things. Turnarounds. Wow, how do you make someone turn around when it's not 3D? That means you're drawing. So how do you do it in the minimum number of drawings? That's deep water, but fun. Walk cycles. How do you make someone walk? You know, frankly, really, if you could make 2 steps, you could make someone walk, right? That each leg gets a turn, and that's why it's called a cycle. Someone walking just repeats that cycle, 1 step for each leg. That's also complicated, but very rewarding. This is the kind of stuff you want to do if you want to tell stories. So your character needs to turn and they need to walk. If all goes well there, I want to get moving into voiceover. It's not really voiceover. Lip syncing. How do you make them? Didn't you always wonder that? You know, really, for years I'd wondered about that. How many drawings does it take for someone to say this? You know,
A lot.
A lot. But actually, tell you the truth, to be exact,
Like seriously, a lot.
we're going to use 12 to be real exact. 12 mouth shapes. People do it with as little as 4 if you watch really old or cheap animation. And they never look right, but if you like the crude look, I don't know how many South Park uses, for example.
That's like a word, I think.
I'm sure, you know, I'm talking about mouth shapes, right, for the moment. Mouth shapes. They're called visemes, the mouth shape. And I have several reasons why we're going to use 12. You could use, Disney probably uses more. But 12 works great. It works great with Adobe's automatic lip sync system, which is based on 12. That's pretty advanced. It really, the teacher who hired me for this was like, whoa, you're doing lip syncing? And I was like, wow, should I not? He's like, no, go for it. I'm not sure that anybody else is doing that. So this is what I want to warn you. You know, I have to say, in part, if you rock the house this semester, you'll have enough freedom to actually tell stories, you know, without limping, because we're going to touch base on all the main questions people always have. How do you get anything to move? All the way, how do I make specific moves? Oh yeah, I left out. Eyes blinking, pupils darting around. Can't see it with my glasses, but you know, someone looks weird if they're just looking straight ahead. You know, people look, they blink, they look around, right? The only way to make someone look real, you got to do that. This is all this semester.
I'm gonna turn my camera off just to see if I can contact the IT department for the Adobe thing.
You go right ahead.
Okay,
Right. Got you. So listen, those of you with your cameras off now, I'm going to assume that you're serious students anyway, even though I work at other schools where every student participates by letting themselves be seen. You know, often when people hide from the teacher, they're not top shelf students, but maybe you got a good reason, right? So I'm going to keep an open mind, I promise, but I just have to be blunt. Seems unfair. You know, you would feel pretty weird if I hid my camera right now. All right, so here we go.
But I have a question.
Yeah, please, Zachariah.
For the homework, I was gonna ask, are we gonna screen share it? So like, or we're gonna send it?
That's a really good question. I've created a Dropbox for your class, right? So you know how the handout has the link to Zoom and the link to, you know, handouts for these issues? It will also have a link to a folder in Google Drive. And you'll just click the link and you'll take your work and just drop it on it. Hey, I want to show it to you. Give me a second.
Okay.
You get a look at this. So here's the end of today's handout, and it says, click the link to get to our shared Google Drive folder. The box at the end of the handout is always the homework. Watch this. There it is. So all you do is you take your homework from a nearby folder and you drop it in. Just drop it right here and I'll get it. Does that help?
Yeah, it helps.
Okay. I'm trying to make the neatest system possible. You know, the beginning of semesters during COVID have been very messy, right? I mean, unless you took summer school, that was the messiest semester ever, right? That started in January, suddenly in March, everybody's scrambling. I taught the summer, so I had a lot more practice teaching this way. It was MMP100, the intro to multimedia. The class went incredibly smoothly. We had free access to Adobe stuff the whole summer, so there was that. Miraculously, everyone who took that class knew it was a remote class, so they all made sure they had computers, at least as I remember it. Right now we're having trouble. It's a bigger class. It's a different semester until we get the software off the ground. So look, folks, I have to ask a painful question because I really want to know. I have no choice but to start moving into the demonstrations. Those of you who can't join me, I really wish you could, but I feel so good that I'm videotaping it. I'm pretty angry that Zoom is not showing me that I am videotaping it. But you're all seeing the record option still? Let me know if it magically goes off, right? Because we're going to depend on it, right?
It's the one, Professor.
What's that?
It's still on.
It's great, thank you. Yeah, there's usually a red light in the top left of my screen that today does not want to go on. Live. Okay, last chance to ask questions other than Adobe Animate. Feel free to ask right now. Turn on your mic, shout it out. All right, I'm going to polish this off saying one more thing. Could we have learned something else? You know, would it have made sense to do this in a different program? So I just want to focus on something for a minute. The class is about 2D. So if you like anime, particularly, you know, Totoro, stuff like that, that's 2D. That's all drawing, right? 2D, it's all drawing. If you're doing 3D, you're mapping out an object. So even if you're looking at the front, the computer knows what the back looks like. You've already, the first step is like making digital sculpture out of everybody. The three-dimensional, at least as far as the computer knows. You know, picture wireframing, you know, like chicken wire wrapped around something. It's got all that data. So later on, you just turn stuff. But if you want the 2D kind of look that you were raised on when you were young, it is still very, very popular, right? You need a 2D program. If you don't know what you want to do, you should learn both. Now, I only know 2D, right? We have good teachers who do 3D, like Jamal Sullivan, for example. And after this class, I think you guys are going to start branching out. So when it comes to 2D, there are three programs that come up in conversation. There's Adobe Animate, there's Toon Boom, and there's Adobe After Effects, which is like a hybrid program. So I just want to say a quick thing. I wish I knew Toon Boom, because the argument lately has always been about the two programs. Toon Boom is very popular. The thing is, it's expensive, and it comes in different versions with different prices. Schools often don't buy it. And the industry keeps changing what it wants anyway. The thing about Adobe Animate, it's Toon Boom's direct competition, is almost everyone gets Creative Cloud. If you're confused about that whole issue, I want to finalize it. Adobe's a company. They sell about 30 programs. About 10 are considered a set. Adobe makes the set called Creative Cloud, right? So that's the idea. Adobe has 30 products, but about 10, including Adobe Animate, are the Creative Cloud suite, the set, Creative Cloud suite. It includes Adobe Illustrator, which a lot of you are going to want at some point. It includes Photoshop, which all of you are probably going to want. It includes Adobe Premiere, great video editor, and more. So this suite is like the world's best deal. So Adobe, you know, my wife, she wants Lightbox, but it's not in the suite. she'll have to buy that separately, which sucks, you know. So, you know, Creative Cloud Suite, most of you who are serious are eventually gonna just get your own subscription. You pay a monthly price, and it's not that expensive. As I said, last I looked, it was $17 for students a month, and you get everything, you know, you get the whole suite. So the thing is, that means that you'll have Adobe Animate at that point, and that's an industry standard to have the suite. So it's one of the reasons the school chose to do it. Last week's handout included links that even listed all the TV shows that have used Animate and Flash, since the same family line. And you can see it's very common. So that's why we made that choice. For 2D animation, really, so Toon Boom, that would be cool too, but we don't have it. Adobe Animate's awesome. That's where we're headed. Adobe After Effects, by the way, also in the suite, is everybody's favorite if you're mixing video and animation. That's definitely the favorite. It has lots of special effects, as the name gives away, Adobe After Effects. So one common workflow is to work in Animate and then bring that finished work into After Effects for your laser beams and your smoke and other weird effects that you can't do so well in a 2D program, in an all 2D program. So those are the 3 ones to keep your eye on. Toon Boom, good to learn more about it. Adobe Animate, you're in good shape here. Adobe After Effects would be a good place to go next. All right, I am gonna start. So here's the lowdown, guys. Last time I wanna ask, because I know some of you have been trying to load it while I've been talking. How many of you guys at this moment have access to Creative Cloud? Please show me. You have to give me a reaction emoji or your hand. I'm counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we got 11 out of the people who are currently in the room. 2, 4, 5. We've got 20 students in the room. Not satisfying. I have to take a note out of it just because this is going to help me get the computer to move forward. So I'm just taking a fast note.
Professor, I have access to the Creative Cloud, but I just can't open it because my computer's not that great.
Oh, who was just talking to me? Can you show me where you are?
Nassim.
Nassim? Really? So it won't, the program won't open? Creative Cloud opens, but not Adobe Animate? Is that it?
If I turn on Adobe Animate, my computer shuts off.
Really? What kind of computer are you on?
My father got it back in 2009.
2009. Yeah. So I see, Nassim, that I've got you on my list of people. We're trying to get you a better machine. So in the meantime, have you cleaned that computer out as best you can? Like throw out everything? All your dad's stuff's got to go?
I cleaned out most of it, and I'm still cleaning it, but
Gotcha.
yeah.
So, you know, I really don't know whether that's going to work because here's a repeat problem that I have. So Macs, for example, that have a new operating system once a year, once every 2 years. Then they encourage you to get it. Then you upgrade your operating system. You start opening your software, and then some of the software says it's incompatible after you've already loaded it. I go through this all the time. Other times I open software and it says it requires the newest operating system. These companies don't cooperate in a timely way. So I can't do audio editing in my favorite program currently because it doesn't like my operating system. That means I can't open my own files for a little while to figure that out. You know, we've all been there. A lot of us have been there. So Nassim, I really respect your trying to get that old computer to work. If it works, let me know. It's going to be a small miracle. That is old. Just being frank. So if you cannot get it to behave, I don't think I have a miracle in store. Again, do your best to stay as motivated as possible until we get that machine for you. Right? Timothy, did you want to say something? I see your box lit up. All right, guys, I'm going to be taking a survey again at the end of the class because I have the feeling more than 11 of you are set up. It is going to change the way that I teach, though, if only half the class is ready, right? So if you are ready, next time I ask, please be sure unequivocally to let me know, right? I'm trying to juggle in the fairest way I can for the whole community that's here, right? All right, folks, I am going to get started right now. So again, this is all going to be videoed. I'm going to get started. We'll take a break on the early side just so that people could freshen themselves. It's taken us an hour to deal with this set of technical issues. Going forward this class, I'm going to limit these conversations about technology to 15 minutes most because I have to get the material out. And thankfully, because of the video, they'll always be available the whole semester. Okay, I'm going to just hide you guys for a minute on my end. And I'm just double checking my own handout to be sure. So, okay, 2D skills. We're going to be comparing graphics, graphic animation, which is commonly called motion graphics, to character animation. And you should keep your mind open to both. Most of you prefer character animation. You came here because you want to tell stories with characters. Some people are open-minded to making ads for websites, for example, where it's mostly text that animates. And text that animates is a form of motion graphics. So we're going to be doing motion graphics and character animation. I want to get started right away. So I want to say something about Creative Cloud, how to use it for Adobe Animate, and how to use it in general. All right, so Adobe created the suite, Creative Cloud, and they created an application like for it. So the Creative Cloud application is a portal to all the programs in the Creative Cloud suite. Creative Cloud Suite's a set of things, but it comes with an application that runs them. Now, if your application loaded like mine, take a look at my screen. I want you to see something. Way up top, I've got this little logo here. Can you see it? It looks like a keychain like that, or two letters C, Creative Cloud. So one way into the program that runs it, the application that runs it, once you've loaded it, is to click that symbol. Now, what it's doing is it's showing me all these updates that are part of the cloud, and I can click update here. Now, I want to say something about that, right? I can close this at any point in time. This is just for me to see what programs are available, open them, update them, and that's up here. Now, I'm on a Mac, I'm not on Windows. So if you can't find that little symbol, that's not a big problem. You do have to know how to search on your own computer, right? So I'm on a Mac right now. A common way to search on a Mac is to come again to the top of the screen. Off to the right is a magnifying glass called Spotlight. So I can click Spotlight anytime I want to search. On Windows, you have to find your own search feature, right? So here I could search Creative Cloud if I can't find the icon visually. There it is, and I could just click it here. And it opens the exact same thing. Now I want to say something to you just real quickly about this whole question. In my class, I only care about one thing in the Creative Cloud suite. I really only care about Adobe Animate. If things go smooth, I may take us for a tour of Illustrator to see how it relates, and Photoshop to see how it relates. But mostly, they're all in the suite, so we could get them all once you have it. But what we want most is definitely Adobe Illustrator. Guys, a second there. All right. So, all right. So here I am. I'm in the suite. Now I just want to point something out. I have two that are asking me if I want to open them. So I could open Adobe Animate from here. If you're new to it, there'll be buttons that ask you if you want to load them. See, when you load Creative Cloud, the app, like what we're looking at, it doesn't just load all the software because it'll slow down your computer. It asks you what you want to load. You need one thing, you load it, right? You want to try some, you can load it. You could always unload it later, right? But they don't automatically load. The app, the portal does, the Creative Cloud app From there, you choose what to load, what to update, right? Right now, it knows what I have loaded and it's offering me updates. I want to say one last thing, because you could open Adobe Animate if you already found it, right? Down here, open. The other way is it might be at the bottom of your screen right now, especially if you're on a Mac. It might have automatically loaded an icon. So here's my Adobe Animate icon, way at the bottom of the screen, this dark blue icon. So I'm going to click it, and I'm finally in Adobe Animate, right? I'm going to actually quit it because I had it open from before class. So I want it to look the same as everybody else. So in short, you could search, if you're first getting started, Creative Cloud, and then choose Adobe Animate. But once you've loaded it, once you've got Adobe Animate, forget about Creative Cloud app for a while. From then on, you're just going to go right to the program. You could search Adobe Animate, go into your program files folder, go into apps if you're on a Mac, search it. Adobe Animate is all this talks just so we can get to Adobe Animate. All right, I'm going to reopen mine. So this is what it looks like when you first open it. This is the way I typically do it. I use the dock. Now let's give it a couple of minutes. Now, if you're looking at this screen, right, this is where we typically start in class. So in class, it's already waiting for you. You click it, we open it, we get busy. You're looking at this splash screen. Now you could either click Create New, or you can go to the File menu. Now I'm often going to use the File menu because all programs have it. So this is the norm. But it's pretty much the same as clicking this. If you're joining me, go to the File menu and click New. So you get similar choices. This is common to other programs, so I'm going to focus on this method. Notice it's got a few standard sizes laid out. If you see standard, please click standard. I want you to notice what happens on the right side, though, when you choose the different ones. I want standard. The right side says 640 width by 480 tall, and beneath it, it says pixels. So here we are, we're actually learning animation stuff finally. We only think in pixels. Animators don't think in inches, centimeters, points. They only think in pixels, right? So we measure everything in pixels. 640 by 480 is small. It's the kind of size you might use because you're making an animation to put on a website. We're going to stick with it right now. Beneath it, it says frame rate, and mine says 24. I want to ask a question. Does anybody's say 30 under frame rate right now? If it does, can you let me know?
Mine does.
Or does it? Because the interesting thing was the original frame rate default was 12. Then it went to 24, which is my absolute favorite even now, right? Then last year, they started setting it to 30. So I want to say a couple quick words about that very important choice. 24 frames a second is exactly what you think. It's 24 separate pieces of artwork in a second. So it makes things look like they're moving. 12 looks rocky, right? And we only used to use it when the internet was slower. 24 became the standard. Why? Well, a lot of filmmakers doing live action set their video cameras to 24 frames per second. I make movies and I like my camera set to 24. It looks good, right? In Europe, it's the standard frame rate for video, for film, 24 frames a second. In this country, we go back and forth between 24 and 30. 30 frames sounds like it must look better, right? I mean, that's more imagery in a second. You'd think it would look better, but actually, some people feel like it looks unnaturally sharp. You know, soap opera sharp, you know, and it just doesn't have a nice quality. So a lot of people prefer 24 frames. I want to tell you another reason why I vote for 24. For this crowd, for us making animation, 24 frames for 1 second is a hell of a lot easier than 30. If you're doing a second animation, would you rather have 240 drawings or 300 drawings? For 10 seconds, that would be 60 extra drawings, which we just don't want to do, right? So if we could avoid it, let's avoid it. So I would say the magic number to my mind is 24. Could you change yours to 24? So let's be clear. That's not 2400 that you're looking at. All right, that's 24. It looks, you know, somebody last semester kept insisting it was a different number. 24.00. You just type 24 in here if you want. All right, this is what you want, 640 by 480. We're going to use this measurement for a few weeks. We're going to use this frame rate for most of the semester, right? The bottom says platform type, just leave it at the default. Actually, can I double check something with you? Does yours say ActionScript 3 for platform?
Yes.
Type? Great. That's what we want to stick with. I'll tell you more about that later, but don't be thrown. ActionScript is the name of a programming language that used to be part of this program. We don't want to use that, but the platform type has the best audio. So we're sticking with it, right? ActionScript 3's got all the best audio options. All right, that's it. We're going to use the same settings for a while. Let's click create. So folks, I typically take a break now, but it took so long to get to something interesting. I want to just do a little bit with you, then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back. Is that okay? We could go a little bit further? All right, let's just take a stab at it a little bit. I want to point out that the first question for an animator is, where should I do my drawings? And there's no obvious answer. A lot of it's going to be stylistic. You know, you could conceivably do your drawings on paper, right, and make an animation out of it. That would look beautiful, very underground at this point. I just got to say, it would be really slow because you'd have to photograph every single sheet of paper in identical methods or scan them. You could draw in Adobe Illustrator, which is a fantastic drawing program, the #1 drawing program. And it happens to get along with Animate incredibly well. If you start a drawing in Illustrator, bring it into Animate, you could always finish it in Animate because the tools work. So that's a big plus. You could do it in Photoshop, except for Photoshop, you really can't transform those drawings by the time you get into an animation program. So they're a little harder to use. They're great for backgrounds. You know, the background's not going to change anyway, right? So I have to say, I do my stuff either in Adobe Illustrator or right here in Animate. I want to say something very encouraging. Man, the drawing tools in Animate have gotten so good. It's gotten so good, I wouldn't be surprised if illustrators start using it just for illustration. So we're going to start there. All right. To start with me, I'd like for everyone who can to look at the toolbar on the left and find the rectangle tool. The rectangle tool has other tools hiding. So if you press on it and keep the mouse down, you can see there's also this thing called rectangle primitive. I'm going to ask you not to use it. I want you to come up just to where it says rectangle. Now, what I'd like you to do next is look at the bottom of your toolbar, which might look the same as mine. Oops, hang on a second there. I just moved stuff around that I didn't mean to do. It might look a little bit different. Could be this little double arrow here is folding it up. I actually just wanted to show it to you a little differently. There we go. It might look like that, but you should have the same tools. I want you to make sure you got the rectangle tool, not the rectangle primitive tool, plain old rectangle. I want you to notice that at the bottom here is a fill and a stroke box, right? And that's going to let you choose color. What I'd like you to do is please click that fill box, right? And now that's the box that doesn't look like a picture frame. It opens up a color palette, and I'd like you to pick any color you want to explore for right now. Next, I'd like you to click the box behind it, and it comes to the front. That's the stroke color. That's an outline color. Sometimes you want outlines and sometimes you won't. For right now, let's try an outline color. So remember, you chose the rectangle tool, then you chose two colors, and I just want you to come on stage and draw a few rectangles to see what it feels like. So it's very easy to draw rectangles in this particular program and to draw basic shapes. Now, we're going to come back to that tool and what we could do with it, but I want to take a quick detour to something that's really important, the black arrow. So let's say you made a decision about a shape, but you changed your mind, right? It's going to be all about the black arrow. First off, since we already started with color, let's use the black arrow for color. Can you get the black arrow, which is called the selection tool, and I'd like for you to click once on one of your rectangles. First thing is, there's lots of little dots, and that's the way this particular program lets you know that something's selected. I'd like you to press now in there and drag that out because I got to show you something really weird. Now, this is not obvious. That's kind of strange. We selected that object, the dot showed up, you pressed and dragged, and it left the stroke. It left the outline behind, right? That's pretty weird. You might grow to like it. I'd like you to try Command Z to undo it, or Control Z, right? So on a Mac, Command Z, on Windows, Control Z. I'm going to click back inside here and Command Z. I want to show you how to get around leaving your stroke behind, but let's talk about undo for a minute. I'm sure at least a large number of you have used Command Z before or Control Z. Animate's generous. I think you can go back about 20 steps. So if you totally blow it, you're usually okay. You know, you just Command Z a lot, right? So it gives you a chance to really take chances. And as an artist, you want to take chances, right? All right, so we're going to be using that. What I'd like for you to do is compare this. What if you double click that object, right? So in other words, if it's selected now, click outside with the black arrow so you could start over, right? Click outside of the shape. Come back, and instead of clicking it once, double click and drag it. So that's kind of interesting. What that basically means is a brand new shape could either be clicked once or twice, depending on what you want. If your game is to get the whole thing, double click it. Now, either way, you could have changed the fill because you selected the fill. This way, you could change them both. So let's do that. Now, I want you to notice that once you've selected it, you're seeing the colors both at the bottom of your toolbar, and hopefully you're also seeing them on the right, right? Over here it says fill, and here it says stroke. Now you could change the color from either of those locations. Now I need to stop for a second. We are going to break in just a couple of minutes. I just wanted to break the ice. That palette on the right that I'm hoping you see is called Properties, right? And it's got several tabs in the last couple versions of Adobe Animate called Properties. Now, if your Properties palette is not out, all the palettes live in one place, the window menu. So the window menu is in alphabetical order. Here's Properties, and it should be checked. But if it isn't checked, you're not going to see it. So if yours isn't there, please go to the window menu and choose Properties. So you'll see I've got this edit bar thing turned on. I don't want to talk about that just yet. I've got the timeline, which is at the bottom of your screen. I've got tools. That's where you got the black arrow. I've got Properties on the right. I like working with Properties out, and it usually knows what you're doing. I just clicked off. It's telling me about the document. I clicked on a shape. Oops, that's this up here. There we go. Sorry about that. You click on a shape, and the Properties palette's all about the shape. I double clicked, so it gives me both fill and stroke. I'd like you to try it here. Change your fill from here. Change your stroke from here. And we're going to talk more about other elements, but since we're here using the Properties palette, I'd like you to notice where it says stroke size. If I drag this over, I'm changing the thickness, the stroke weight measured in pixels. If I knew the number, I could highlight it and type it in. But the slider works just as well. How are we doing so far? Look, guys, you know, you always keep me posted whenever possible. Emojis are fine, reactions are fine. Physical thumbs and drawn thumbs are both good, right? Because it really does help me alter the class for all of our benefit. Jotaro, I particularly like that. That's like, he's got this interesting thing. It's like a puppet show. Anyway, but I'm glad you're positive. Me too. All right. I want to show you some more about the relationship of the rectangle tool and shapes in general, fill and stroke, and the black arrow. Could you make sure you have the black arrow now? I want to show you a couple things. You might remember that the black arrow with one click only got the fill, but the black arrow with 2 clicks got the whole object. So let's get something clear. For a little while, you're going to need to double click anytime you want to move something. And as animators, that's what we're going to do. It's all about motion. So we're going to be doing a lot of double clicking for a little while. I'd like you to click off that object because I want to show you something else. What if you double clicked the stroke? Now these are very small. I could do it, but they're hard to see. This one's thick. So I'm going to double click it. And I got just the stroke. You know, why would you ever do that? You don't do it too often, but I'll do it sometimes because I change my mind and I just don't want the stroke. I just want to delete it. Very often I don't want an outline. So I'll double click it with the black arrow and delete it. I got to show you something weirder and far more interesting, right? I'd like you to deselect the object. Watch this. If you take the black arrow on an object that is not selected, right? So this won't work. I got to deselect it by clicking off of it. The black arrow can reshape objects. Watch this. So what I'd like you to do is take any of your rectangles, change its shape by going to a corner and dragging those shapes around. You don't have to draw the same shape as me, but what I'm trying to do is make a point that this program is amazing when it comes to transforming your drawings. This is a very similar logic to Adobe Illustrator, but what we're in right now is called merge mode. And we're going to be comparing merge mode to object mode. By the way, the second one is just like Illustrator. But in merge mode, you have this intuitive way where you could change shapes. I want to show you something fast while we're on that particular subject. So if you're, I'd like you to click out if you have something selected and then come back and choose an anchor. Oops, didn't want to show you that yet. We're going to get there in a minute. I want to show you something else. We're moving what's called an anchor, but I want to show you what an anchor looks like. All right. I need for everybody to join me, and it is possible that you don't have the same tools out, so you're going to have to let me know. On the toolbar, we're all seeing the black arrow, but I'd like you to press on that and choose this tool that's hiding. It's called the sub-selection tool. Now, if that tool is not there, can you let me know now? If it is there, can you give me one of these?
It isn't there.
It's
Like, I'm
not there?
clicking.
You have to press, not click. So you keep the mouse, keep down on it. Jacob, do you notice these little triangles that some of the tools have?
Those, the oval tool and rectangle tool, I only have the rectangle and oval.
That's fine, but there's little triangles next to them. That means that there's tools hiding underneath those, right? So that's not a click, it's a press. Press means keep the mouse down or keep the touchpad down. So if you go to the black arrow and you keep it down, I'm hoping you see this. Do you? It's possible that you don't. It's still not there? Can I ask you guys, is anyone else not finding the white arrow?
Yeah, I don't see the lines on the side of mine either. It just shows the regular.
All right. Guys, I got to complain. I love the way this program's growing up, except for one really dumb thing. They took off a lot of the tools from the toolbar that are essential, right? And made you have to manually put them back on, right? So let's do a couple experiments because I really want to avoid going into this random toolbox they have and dragging stuff out. Let's try something else. Again, this wouldn't happen at the lab because the computers are set the same, or it shouldn't. I'd like for everybody who's looking at Animate right now to join me in Animate by going up to the window menu. In the window menu, toward the bottom is something called Workspaces. Now there's a bunch of choices there Right now, I'm in the one called Essentials. I'd like you to choose Essentials because I'm not really sure what workspace started on your computer.
Yeah, I see. I got it now.
Now you got it?
Yeah, I
All
got
right,
it.
great.
It's
Great.
just mine was a doll animation, but like I don't see that
Doll
on
animation?
yours.
Well, I got to see
Yeah,
that. You even heard of that?
it's not there. I
Mine was
think
like
maybe
basic.
Yeah, really?
for
So
Yeah.
some
that's
reason
interesting. You'll
it's
see
weird.
basic, a small screen for some people is going to be very attractive if you're on a super small screen. But right now, I'm hoping we could all work with Essentials so it's not too confusing with us all having a different setup. So guys, I want to only spend a couple minutes more and take a break, come back and get busy. But I want to say something about workspaces. Many programs have that option. If you like another program like Photoshop, go to the window menu, look for workspace. It's very attractive because people have different goals. For example, people can program in this. You know, people heavy into games may choose to do that. So there'll be a different workspace for them. All it does is take out some tools and put some tools in so your screen isn't cluttered with stuff you don't particularly want. Video editors have a lot of workspace issues. If your job was just to do color in video, you might choose the color workspace, right? So right now I'm using Essentials, which actually has just about everything we're gonna need, at least for a little while. We may choose to change that later. All right, I wanna quickly finish this one idea before we break. So if you switch to the wide arrow, I want you to go back to the same object you were exploring and try to click on the same corner. I wanna show you something about that. This is called a path. The little elements in the corners are called anchors. Now, this is actually critical to everybody in design of any sort, right? So hear me out. If you ever heard the program vector, the term vector or vector program, vector programs have anchor points. So you're in one of the two most popular vector programs. The most popular one is Adobe Illustrator, right? But most programs have vector features. If you're in Photoshop, you could make a vector layer. It's kind of lame, but it has anchor points. Why do we care? Well, if you bring an artwork from a vector program, you could finish it here. You could change your mind here. I could probably bring this back into a vector program and work on it in a different program. The other reason we care is we could zoom in as much as we want. Now, as an animator, you really want that. Because if you draw a little bird and then you decide you want a close-up, you don't really want to have to draw another bird, which is what you would have had to do only 15 years ago, or 20 years ago. But now you just zoom in on it. If you made the bird in Photoshop, you couldn't do that because those pixels will get blurry when you zoom in on them. So we like vector art. Those are anchor points. I want to say just a little bit about the anchor points. You're in the white arrow. So what the white arrow does is it lets you see the anchors, choose them and move them for exact precision. It also lets you do fancy things with curves. And I may come back to that subject, but I have other things to do today. So I just want to compare the black arrow to the white one for a minute. We're going to use the black arrow mostly because it's very intuitive. I only showed you the white arrow so you could see the hidden structure that was already there. That path, the bluish line, those anchors, they're always there, but the white arrow shows them to you. Could you quickly switch back to the black arrow? I want to show you just a couple little more things. So if the object is selected, you won't be able to join me on the next exercise. Click off of it. So we already discovered that the black arrow selects things, moves them, allows you to change their color, and I should add, allows you to delete them. But more interesting, watch this. It lets you change straight lines into curves. Now that's kind of unbelievable. You know, it's really the only program I know of that will actually let you do that easily. You know, by the way, if I did switch to the white arrow, I could learn even more about how this works. These handles are for precision when working with curves. And if this was an illustration class, we'd be spending weeks on this particular thing. We're going to see how much we need it as we get into motion. But the black arrow lets you do that intuitively, right? So it's not always as exact as you could see, right? But it's often just what you need. I'm going to Command Z because I made a mess out of it. Is it working for you guys? Have you been able to transform shapes?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to need this a lot because, as I said, this program's drawing tools got better and better and better. Let me say one last thing. We are going to focus on drawing after the break, and then we're going to do a couple of animation exercises to start making things move. But the question came up, I believe, last week about drawing tablets. So I just want to say something quickly about that. Don't feel like you need a drawing tablet right now. You don't. You just don't. Do you want a drawing tablet? You might. Now, I did animation for years without a drawing tablet. Now, I've got to admit, the style of animation that I used all those years was graphic oriented. It wasn't making people talk or walk or dance around. It was really mostly for ads for the internet. I have a big internet experience. So it was a lot of text, boxes changing color, and little games with people's logos, you know, photos in there, right? So it really didn't need elaborate drawing. At some point, I'll show you my drawing tablet, which is elsewhere in the house for people who are interested. I mentioned it in passing, I believe, last week. For anyone who's just got to have it. I'm happy with mine. It's called XP Pen, XP-Pen, and does many great tricks. And it's the kind of tablet where you actually see the image, you know, so you're not, you know, looking on screen and drawing. You actually see it. About $200, I think. But don't feel like you need it. You could do a lot. I'm working with my touchpad during this class, you know, like that. I've often done it with a mouse, so we can get far that way. All right, I have a lot of stuff to do, but I really do think that we need a break, right? I have 10:36 in my computer. I'm going to give us a fairly long break right now. We're going to come back, get busy right away at 11 o'clock sharp. Listen, folks, I'm your advocate, right? Be nice to the advocate. Anybody who's ever supporting you, be sure they know that you're worthy of support. Come back on time, right? The class starts again at 11. I'll see you guys then.
Yeah,
right?
Professor.
Yeah. Okay. Danielle, you have a question for me before I go?
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask during the break so I didn't like interrupt class.
Okay.
When I tried to open a file on Adobe, it says my trial has ended, and the only way to access is to pay.
That's odd because Tiffany, my assistant, was saying that she also had the same kind of account and it automatically extended to the new deadline. So we have to figure out how to change it.
Mm-hmm.
Did so you started with your Adobe account at what point? When did you first get it?
Last semester I got
Last
it.
semester. So
Mm-hmm.
you got it during summer or the semester before that?
The semester before summer, spring semester.
Got it, and it worked fine. And just right now, it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
Danielle, I want to, before we talk a little more about it, you and I want to just take a quick note because that's the only way I get anything done is I keeping a log of our issues so I could talk to the powers that be. Just give me 1 second. All right. Here's my take on that. Are you there?
Yes, my laptop is dying right now, so I'm charging it. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I would be tempted to click use new account. Usually those windows that open say username, password, and even though you're using the same username, there's a small chance it might work by fooling it by clicking new account. um, and trying the same information. You know, like Jacob, I probably should have tried that with you also. I'm not guaranteeing that that's actually going to work. So I just took a note, and what I'm going to do on my break, I'm going to make my break a little shorter so that I could do some research myself about how to do that, how to get past that particular obstacle. Right now, that's the only idea that I have, is to choose new account and then use the same login information again.
Okay.
Right. So folks, I'm going to turn off my screen sharing and turn off my camera even. I'm not going to shut down the meeting, right? While we break, I'm going to do some research kind of quietly in an undistracted way, see if I could solve a couple of your issues. And I'll see you precisely at 11.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Pause. Hello again.
Hello.
Hello. So, Daniela, I just searched around just to see if I can get any information about that issue. You know, it's kind of crazy, right? Isn't it? I'm glad. I love your positive attitude, though. Just how many weird things we have to deal with in this very strange time. I have this small hope that would help a lot of these situations, really, which is, since our city is doing fairly well, from a pandemic perspective. I mean, if anybody has family that were hurt during the pandemic, my heart really does go out to you. But, at the moment anyway, everything's been pretty good for the city. So we're slowly opening up. I think they made a good choice not opening the classrooms for larger scale health in a city as busy as ours. But I do think they could open the labs, and just reduce them to like half capacity, temperature checks and masks and stuff. But since I post my classes in video, it would make life possible for a lot of people where they could just book an appointment at a lab, knowing there's 6 feet around them, ventilated space, you know what I mean? And have a proper machine that runs everything. I wouldn't say that if we were one of the states that were, really suffering right now, but because some states you really should avoid at the moment. But really, there's outdoor restaurants, there's all these things that are starting up, and that would fix this, in large part. All right, in any case, I could not find a solution to get around your particular problem, it was Jacob, I think, had a kind of a similar problem, these login issues. I just wrote several of the people above me in more than one department. Do we have a designated person who can help with this? Who's seen all the problems and like, oh yeah, it's probably this, there's no way that I can do it. I have like 100 students currently. So I'm trying to find people who could figure this stuff out. So again, thank you all for staying positive. I'm going to jump right back in to screen sharing. And I'm going back to the program at hand, Adobe Animate. All right, so what I'd like to do for those of you who are currently joining me, I'm going to ask you to clear your screen. So Command A or Control A means select all. And that's something that you'd want to know. Anyway, Command A or Control A works in every program. It's a quick way to select everything, then press delete. I want to say to those of you in the room and those of you who are going to be watching YouTube later or rewatching this class later, that we're going over the very important behaviors of the first level of drawing behaviors in Adobe Animate. I want to show you guys something related to what we were doing before the break, but kind of different. And you have to follow these instructions exactly to join me, right? I want you to get the same rectangle tool. And you could change the fill color if you want, but we want to turn the stroke color off. Now, different programs that have strokes turn the stroke color off in different ways, but this program works by choosing a color of none. So you got your rectangle tool chosen, right? I'd like you to do this from the properties palette if possible. You click fill to choose a new fill. You click stroke. Now, if we wanted a new color, you know how to do that. But up here, almost hidden, is this little tiny red slash. That means color of none. Don't want a color, right? So you simply click that. So I'm looking for something like this. A fill, yes. A stroke, no. The next demonstration will not work if you have strokes turned on. All right, what I'd like for you to do is make yourself a fairly tall rectangle. I want you to make one not far beside it. Now what we're going to do is create a shape like the letter H. Now the trick about this is don't come in this little space and draw this bridge to make the H. Start inside one of the two shapes and keep going. We want to make sure that you've completely bridged both those shapes. While you're trying that, I want to tell you why. This is one shape now. Now, in a lot of graphics programs that wouldn't happen, in vector programs almost never, but these are, each of the shapes had 4 anchor points. Now it has 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And what that means
Professor,
is, yes, sir.
I missed that part. Can you please go over it again?
I am going to go over it, but you have to wait 1 minute because I want to show everybody why it's cool. It creates so many drawing opportunities because I built this shape and it became one shape with anchors. I know they're hidden, but with anchors just where I need them to get busy and go further. So I'm going to do this over. First, clear your screen if necessary. That's Command A, Mac style, Control A, Windows style. Select all, press delete. Get the rectangle tool. To do this with the rectangle tool or any tool, you can't have a stroke, and I'm going to explain in a few minutes why. So choose your fill from here. Fine, any color will do. Now your stroke, when you click on the stroke box, this is what I want to point out. In many programs, color of none is hidden. It would have been obvious if it was here with the other colors, but it isn't. So you have to turn the stroke off. Matthew, with me? Are you there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So if your stroke is off, you make one shape like so, make another rectangle near it. Now to see the magic, we want to bridge them. So I don't want to tuck anything in here. That isn't going to help. I want to start over here and bridge them. The main point is this. Objects of the exact same color, that touch will fuse into one object. If you'd had a stroke, they wouldn't fuse because the stroke would keep them separate. It's the fact that they're touching that makes this happen. So anytime you want to add anything, you could do it the same way, right? Just make sure you're using the same colors. Now this becomes an increasingly complex object. To feel it, get the black arrow afterwards and start with the anchors. So you can move those anchors in any way that you want. And I know you don't see the anchors. I'm going to give you a peek at them, right? I really don't feel like you need to do this, but I just want to make a point. Can you see them? Right? Everywhere they fuse, the program rearranged the path and the anchors that connect them. So it's one big object. We're using the black arrow though. So we just know that they're there. And the curves that we tried before the break, oops, still work. All right. As many shapes as you want, it's a very valid way to draw. I want to mention though that there is one common error and it's very easy to fix. All of this stuff, once you're with the black arrow changing shape, requires that you come at it from outside. But if you accidentally click inside, you see all the little dots. Well, you can't change the shape. You could change the color because the whole thing's selected, that's fine. You could move it, but if you want to change the shape and you see those dots, click off of it. This will only work, changes of shape will only work on an object that's not selected. I often slip and select it by accident. All right, click outside, try it again. All right, what I want to do is I want to compare that to something that not only adds to an original shape, but takes away from them. So, could everyone select all and press delete? Again, that's Command A or Control A. I want to start with a similar shape, right? And then I want to add to it and take away from it. So let's start with this time we're going to make a letter I. So again, you get the rectangle tool. You pick the fill that you're after. That's completely up to you, what color you feel like using. And then you make sure there's no stroke. I know I keep repeating that. So I click a stroke box to get the color, but I don't choose a color. I choose this little tiny slash, which means none, color of none, basically turning the stroke off. I want to make a letter I, so I'm going to make a bold beam on the top and another similar one on the bottom. And then I'm going to bridge them. So again, the trick is start inside one and go inside the next. Now, we already know that that's one object, which means when you switch to the black arrow, you're going to get the whole thing again. All these little dots are showing you that it's one whole object. So you could change color if you like. You could move it if you like. When you want to reshape it though, use your black arrow again, but deselect first. And then you could reshape it any way that you want. And there's really kind of no end to how far you could take this logic. I want to show you something closely related though. What if you wanted to make holes in this thing? You know, in other words, can you remove from the shape? Now, the easiest way, this is all very Adobe Animate, you know, it's its own special way of seeing. If you use an object of a different color, it won't fuse, but it'll help you actually carve elements out. So watch this. You could switch to a different shape if you want to. So if you could find the oval, you could take the oval. But if not, you could stick with the rectangle, that's fine. But to move forward, right? First off, make sure your object's not selected because I don't want you to accidentally change its color. So with the black arrow, click off. Then get the rectangle tool again. I want to show you something because it's easier to show you than to say. I'm going to get myself a new color to draw with, a new fill, and again, no stroke. Now watch this. If I come in here and overlap it, and switch back to the black arrow, will it fuse? No, it does that. It took a piece out. So the interesting thing is you could actually make holes in an object by simply drawing them, getting the black arrow, and either removing them or just deleting them. Anything I do behind this object, I can see. So we are actually going to be making holes in elements. Now, while you're exploring that, I just want to say a couple things. So the moral of that story is exact colors will fuse when you overlap them. On the other hand, a different color takes a bite out of the original color. Now, if any of you are fluent in Photoshop, that is a little like the way Photoshop behaves if you're on one layer. You know, one layer, you draw something over an object on a layer, even a photograph, pull that thing away, there's a hole, right? Any questions about fusing and dividing by using color? All right, so I want to move forward in that case, right? Now this is going to work with any of the drawing methods involved. All right. Let's clear the screen. So again, I'm going to click inside, Command A, press delete. It's a 11:15, and I would like to do some animation with you today. And I want to start with a simple project and an invitation. Now, none of this is that hard. I don't like the idea of having people having to take class twice. Listen, you know, we talked for all the way to 11:15 about essential things, but if you ever watch the video, if you're going to watch this video again, just skip the first hour. You know, go to YouTube and just drag the playhead an hour in. You know, get close to where we're learning the program. All right, I want to start with animating, and I want to introduce you to a few essential ideas we're going to be using all semester. So this here is called the stage, and you're often going to need to zoom in and zoom out of the stage. So let's do that for a minute. If you're on stage, in other words, you've clicked in here, Command+ will zoom in. Now, I'm so zoomed in, I have no idea where I am, and I want to point something out to you. This is showing me I'm at 2000%, 20 times zoom. Now I could back up by doing Command- or Control-. So I'm usually not going to go too far. I want to see what I'm doing. Now, that's one way to zoom in and out. I do want to mention, though, that if you have an object and select the object, Command+ is very friendly. It zooms in on the selected object. I love this. Adobe products started doing this a year or two ago, and it's incredibly helpful. So Command+, Command-, zoom in, zoom out. Generally best to choose an object first. I want you to keep your eye, though, on a feature that I've grown to take seriously over the years, which is this right here. Sometimes you just know the zoom you need. Like right now, I can't see the bottom of the screen. So I might want to back up to 100%, which is a little small. You could always type in a number if you discover that one works for you. Highlight it. I'm going to see what 115 looks like and hit return. That fits like a glove. So this is another way of controlling the size of the screen. I'm going to be showing you other ways, right? But other ways that you might like even more. Right now, I want to kind of jump forward into a little bit of animation. The one thing I need for you to do now, though, is make sure you could see all 4 sides of the stage. A common error is animating, kind of ignoring where the walls are, right? But only the stage will publish out. So when you're making an MP4 video, an MOV video, or a GIF animation, it's going to be limited to the stage. So while you're working, know where your edges are. Right? Okay, what I'd like you to do at this point is to switch to the oval tool, the ellipse tool. Yeah, they call it oval in this program, the oval tool. If you want to change color, you can. What we're about to do is take a large oval and treat it like a ball that's running out of air for our first animation. So I'm choosing a fill color, and I'm making sure I don't have a stroke, not because I'm going to merge anything, just because it's easier. Just easier, right? All right. Okay, I want to show you something. So again, if your mic's on and you're hearing feedback, just turn the mic off. You know, okay. I want you to make yourself a fairly large oval. It doesn't really have to be a perfect circle, but if you want a perfect circle, either do it by eye or hold down Shift, then let go of the mouse or the touchpad or the stylus. Perfect circle might be nice. So if you wanted to do that properly, you'd hold down Shift on either Mac or Windows until you get a circle you like. It should be fairly large. Now, I want you to take a look at something with me, right? But don't make any changes on your given screen. I want to introduce the timeline and keyframes. Now, underneath your stage, if you chose the same workspace as me, right? I'm using Essentials. You should be seeing underneath the stage this thing called the timeline. And beneath it says Layer 1, and there's this black dot. Now, I want you to notice the black dot on your screen, but I want to show you something on mine. If I deleted this artwork, I'm getting this white dot. Now, this is still called a keyframe, but it's a hollow keyframe, is the way we like to talk about it. The hollow keyframe means there's no artwork on stage. As soon as there is artwork, you get a black keyframe. Now I want to stop everything. Keyframes are going to be a massive part of your life. It's one of the first things you want to absolutely sink your teeth into and get an understanding of. It's massive for animation and for all special effects, even in video. So I'm a big keyframe user. In Adobe Animate, you can't do anything without keyframes. So what is it? The hollow keyframe is the only time that you can draw. I could say place, but it's really time. We're on the timeline. The first instant represents 1/fraction of your frame rate. Let me put that in English, right? If you look at the timeline, you'll notice that each box is separated by gray ones every 5, 10, 15, 20. By the time you get to 24, which is here, above it you see 1s, 1 second. Remember, earlier today I said 24 frames per second or 24 drawings per second is what we want. That basically means if I went to 48, I'll see 2 seconds. So basically 1 frame is a 24th of a second. Doesn't really do a hell of a lot, right? And here's the way it's going to work. What we're about to do is a frame-by-frame animation. Now, I'm not revisiting Winsor McCay today, even though I wanted to. But last week we saw the first animation ever, right? Which was called Gertie the Dinosaur. And Winsor had to draw a certain amount of drawings of Gertie, you know, with her legs down, a step is on its way, so the step came down. I don't know how many drawings per second he used. The least that pulls the trick off that I've ever seen is 8. The eye kind of falls for it if there's 8 images in a second, but it doesn't look too believable. 12 is better, 24. But he had to draw a lot by hand. We're not going to always have to do that because we have cool tricks in Adobe Animate to help speed the process up. I want to add though, we're starting this semester with frame-by-frame animation, the most traditional brand. It's dependent on separate drawings for every step. We're going to move into shape tweening very soon, which is a way to have shapes change at some distance. My square is 2-3 seconds away from the circle it's going to become. And we don't have to draw all 48 frames for those 2 seconds. We're going to use something called shape tweening. So we're going to learn several methods. Frame by frame always comes first. Shape tweening, classic tweening, motion tweening are the 4 flavors we're going to explore this semester. So it's going to go deep. So returning to the timeline, what we need to do is copy the artwork into this next little box on the timeline. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do, if you're on a laptop, or if you're on any computer, look at the top row of keys, and you should find F keys. The key that I want is F6. Now, most laptops are going to require that you hold down another key to use the F6 key. On my computer, F6 wants to change the brightness of my monitor, right? But I don't want it to do that. I want it to function the way Adobe Animate uses it. So I have to hold down the function key. If your F6 key is doing something like changing your monitor, you have to find the FN key on the keyboard and hold it down. So I'm holding my FN key down, and now I'm going to tap F6 once. I got to click inside the program first. Do you see what happened down here? There's 2 black dots. Now, this sometimes takes a few minutes for people to get the hang of, even in school at the labs. So I'm hoping that it's going okay for you at home. The F6 key. So let me just say something about F keys for a moment. They're function keys, and they usually do things like change volume, change monitor, show you different stuff that you might need, other little tricks that they can do. But they're also borrowed by programs. So Photoshop has its own use of the F keys. Illustrator, Premiere, Adobe uses them a lot. And we use the F6 key the most. So you're going to have to hold down the FN key to see that second keyframe. Is anybody having trouble with their F6 key? Because I'll show you another way.
Yeah, I'm having trouble.
You having trouble? So Zechariah, do you have an FN key on your keyboard? It says FN on it. So it's
I'm
on the
looking for
keyboard itself, not on the monitor.
At the bottom, maybe near the control button.
Are you on Mac or Windows?
on Mac.
On a Mac. It's in the bottom left corner. Are you on a
Said
laptop?
button. Yeah,
Are you looking at the keyboard right now? Because it looks like you're looking at your monitor.
I'm looking at my keyboard.
Really? And do you find a control key down there?
Yeah, I
Just
see control.
next to
Yeah, I see, I
control.
see, I see it. I see FN. Yeah, I see it.
Hold it down.
And then you,
Tap
you see-
F6.
Okay. Okay.
Got so folks.
Yeah, I got it.
Don't be shy because everything it can be weird hard once and then it's obvious after that. We're going to use that a lot. There's a small chance you got a broken keyboard or some other weird situation that your shortcuts won't work. You have to let me know. I have a slower method that works. It's just not ideal. Yeah, I want to show you what I mean. I'm going to undo it. I could go into the next frame myself, hold down Control or right click and do this. But I'm going to need to do this thousands of times a day. I really don't want to do that. Right? So I'd much rather use F6. Everybody have a look at my screen for a moment. Frame 1 had the circle in it. Frame 2 used F6 to copy the circle. Now look at what I'm going to do. I'm taking my black arrow and I'm changing that circle a little bit. I barely changed it. If you select the artwork with the black arrow, click out. You don't want to move it. You want to change it. Once you change the second version, the second keyframe, you F6 again, the same way you did it. So you do FN, tap F6. I'm always looking at my timeline. I see I have a third keyframe. That's a third drawing. Winsor McKay, who drew Gertie the dinosaur, he would have loved this. So I got my third drawing. I'm going to go and I'm going to change it a little bit more. Now I'm staying in that same spot. The idea is a ball is running out of air. I'm going to stay in this same spot for a few more rounds. Holding down FN, tapping F6, bringing it in. Doing it again. Each time I create a new keyframe, it's a new opportunity to alter the shape. Take a look at this for a second. That's going to be my animation. Whenever I'm done with one, I tap F6 and I take it again. I want you to go at least 6, 7, 8 frames out. We're looking for very tiny changes. I was getting a little impatient there. Keep it really tiny. And I'm on currently on frame 6. I just moved to frame 7. And I'm going to take it a little further. I think I'm going to stop here and I want to make a suggestion. So this is frame by frame animation. And if this was a person who is blinking, smiling, and talking, it would get damn exhausting. And it would really just be for the toughest people in the room. Frankly, myself, I'm willing to do that in small doses, but there's a reason why animations are made by large teams, right? So we need to know these skills because they're going to mix with other faster skills to get all your dreams to go live. The thing about the ball, though, is if it really was a ball, right, and say it got hit by a rock or something that pierced it, it's possible that that spot would deflate first, right, and the thing's going, but at some point the weight of the ball is going to affect the way the rest of it looks, right? It's possible the opposite side's going to start to come in, and maybe it's going to start to flatten out, and if it flattens out, it's going to have to get wider. Because all the stuff that was up here is moving down. The mass is settling and widening out. So I'm going to make multiple changes on my next F6. So the last one had a small, tiny change. And now I'm going to F6 again. This time I'm going to the same spot, making an equally small change. But I'm going to the opposite side and starting to show a reaction there. I think by now, the bottom would be starting to drop. It would be a little less round each time. So I just made 4 changes. They were all very small though. And I'm going to F6 and I'm going to change the same 4 spots. By the way, I have not even hit a half a second yet. I'm going to show you how to do this, but not just now. I just want to give you a peek. That's all I got. Right? Not much. So we're going to need to take it further before we preview as a group.
Wait, how do you preview on your own screen?
I'm being cheap and keeping it a secret. I promise. I'm going to tell you in just a couple minutes. I want you to finish this one thing out, right? Because there's several kinds of preview. So I promise I'm going to show you any minute now. But I want you to stay focused for the moment. Make whatever changes you want. Try to remember what you're doing because I'm talking and I get lost. I'm going to do another one. I think the bottom's going to start to fall at this stage. It probably should have started falling already, as well as the insides coming in and the bottom flattening out and possibly widening. I'm going to F6, and now I'm going to start focusing on getting this thing to cave. I'm going to focus on one side for a little while because the ball wouldn't deflate symmetrically. Chances are that it would start looking rather unbalanced. So I'm focusing on a couple of spots for a little while. So each time I F6, I'm imagining what might happen next and making a few changes to go with it. I wanted to be very patient because this is actually very small compared to things that we're going to be doing going forward. So we want to build our kind of patience muscle, you know, in a weird way. Our culture does not really treat us patience anymore. It teaches us everything but. You know, not happy with my marriage, been married 2 days, time to get a divorce or have an affair. We're a goofy culture. I'm not like that. And that is very helpful for me as a creative to be able to pay the dues. So I want you to take as long as it requires to get somewhere with this. The idea is your ball's running out of air. They're not all going to run out of the same air. You know, for example, a basketball is very thick rubber. A beach ball is very thin rubber. So they would act very, very differently if they were pierced. So I'm getting near a second. I'm going to actually have this thing kind of fold into itself. And you could kind of see it's a friendly program, and the black arrow is super powerful. And we're going to be dealing, oops. So if you select it by accident, the object moves. I could Command Z to get it back in place and click off of it. So that's going to happen. It probably happened to a couple of you already. If you select it by clicking inside, just click out. If you moved it, just Command Z. Now, strangely, my object is going to fuse with itself as soon as these two sides touch. But I'm okay with it. I think it's going to look cool. It isn't fusing the way I want. I'm a little disappointed about that. I'm going to have to change my plan. That's all right with me because that's how art works. I'm getting a shape that I like anyway, so I'm okay. All right. So I just went a little over a second, right? So you want to keep your eye on the timeline. Start to get used to this idea of 24, 24, 24, 10 seconds, 240, right? So a minute's going to be over 1,200 frames. It's going to be very long, right? Now about previewing, Matthew. There's more than one way. I want to show you a couple ways right now. So here's one. This is called the playhead. And it could be dragged. I'm going to ask you to drag it way back to the beginning. At that stage, you could just hit enter to play it right here. I'm pretty happy with this one. It took me 26 frames to get there. So you could drag the playhead over and use return or enter to play it. I also want to point out that there are these features down here, which I really don't use very often, to tell you the truth. But this one here you might like. This is a play button on this control bar at the very bottom. So it looks like that one, if you're at the end, it just starts over for you. So that's kind of convenient. Now, I want to say something to everybody here. If yours looks like something moving, you succeeded. If it looks like a weird jello blob, but it's moving, you succeeded. If it looks like a germ, you already succeeded. But I want to say this is a fantastic exercise. Really, I honestly believe you should do this exercise 20 times. You know, just like open new documents and do it again and do it again and do it again. I want to say, you know, reason why. One, it gives you the frame by frame logic you're going to need. It helps you get used to how frames look in terms of time. You know, how much time did that take, my 5, 10, 20 frames? But also, it helps you start thinking about the way the world behaves. You know, one of the tricks is everything you've observed your entire life is stored somewhere in here. And when you're animating, you need that knowledge. You know, a lot of animators have a mirror on their desk. You know, they're talking and looking at their mouth, they're making expressions. You know, I'm very rubbery faced. I do that stuff a lot, and they're using it to help them draw. But sometimes it's your memory, you know, like exactly how does a bird flap wings, which we're going to do at some point. Does a wing go up from lateral and then down? Do they just go up and back to the middle? Who knows? A famous photographer wanted to know, when a horse runs, are all 4 feet ever off the ground? Well, we can actually look at that photographer. And if you wanted to animate a horse, you'd have to be able to answer that. You know, by the way, yes, a horse galloping is airborne between steps, you know. But about the ball, you know, we're not going to go out there, buy a ball and puncture it. Though I have to say, some big animation studios, they bring animals in. They're doing a movie about sheep. They bring live sheep into the studio. All right, so about the ball, right? Next time, make it more like a ball. And I don't mean drawings on it. I don't want the markings of a baseball or anything. I'm talking about, how does it feel? Take a look at mine. What could improve? What couldn't improve? So, you know, mine, what I like about it is that it changes the way that it falls. You know, it's not entirely predictable. I want you to try something that will help you to study yours. Could you grab the playhead, this line here, and drag it all the way to frame 1? Now, I want you to locate the less than and more than bracket keys. A lot of you guys did some HTML, so know about the same angle brackets as HTML. In this program, the angle brackets, by the way, I think they're next to your letter M. The right side angle bracket, so if I click down here in the timeline, the right side angle bracket will go 1 frame at a time. So I could actually look at each drawing and see, were they gradual enough? You know, so far, kind of are. Were they varied enough? I didn't really vary too much until I got halfway through. At this stage, I started to work on one side because I really believe that since the ball's rubber is not perfectly even, because nothing's perfect, it would start to lean. So you could see the changes I made. How big is the change between each separate drawing? So I'm using the right angle key to study. Anytime I want to play the whole thing, I hit return. Somebody asked me a question. It's that clear, is it? Are you guys just being nice? All right, I guess it's clear. So look, I want to do it one more time, and then I want to start doing 2 more things if we can get to it today. I want to talk about an object moving out of place. So right now we're doing a shape transformation, right? But it's not going anywhere. And if we can make an object go somewhere, we may see if we want it to change shape as it moves. We may want it to speed up, you know, like a car would. Start slow and goes fast. That's acceleration. We may be able to get a taste of all these things even just today. So what I'm going to ask you to do with me is just leave that document where it is and do File Menu New. So File Menu New is a new document, a new animation. And every time you do that, it assumes you want the same width, same height, same frame rate. But it's a good idea to double check. 640, 480, 24 frame rate. So I just did File Menu, New, and I'm checking these three things: width, height, and the frame rate, and just click Create. I want to go back to that same exact exercise. So I'm going to ask you to get the oval tool again. If you want to change color, change the fill. I'm not saying you can't use a stroke. I'm just saying this might be a little easier without it. Draw your original circle. If you want hand making it a perfect circle, you hold down Shift while you're dragging. So once you've got your shape down, you take a look at your timeline. On layer 1, there's one black keyframe. It was hollow a minute ago because there was no artwork in the keyframe. It was like an apartment, but no one's living there. All right. So once you've got your original shape, the idea is to F6 to make a copy. Now, since a lot of you guys are on laptops, the laptop people need FN. People on computers probably don't need FN. Sometimes they do. Different computers, different keyboards. All right, so you made yourself a copy. You get the black arrow. At that stage, you're imagining this time a little bit more vividly how the ball would behave. So I'm saying it's getting hit over here. Somebody lobbed something at it and it got hit here and then it started to deflate. So I'm taking that in first. Very little bit. If you're interested in smooth, you make tiny changes. So we're going to F6 again. And I'm going to go a little further. And I F6 again. And I'm going to go a little further. And I'm going to keep going on that way. A little further and a little further. And once I've got the audience's attention, right? So I'm going to be 7, 8 frames out there. I'm going to start varying it a little bit. The main idea, though, is don't make big changes, right? That's not going to look realistic. It's got to make tiny little changes. So right now, I'm 8 frames in. And I think it deserves to have some changes elsewhere. I'm going to drop it down a little bit. I'm going to drop the other side. All that mass would have to move, so I'm going to assume it's going to flatten out on the bottom. And I am going to F6 again. Similar moves. I'm going to that main spot, but I'm also going to drop it, maybe start to tilt it. I'm going to take the other side out. And again, start this flattening process that's likely to happen. So it took me over a second to make a convincing animation, and I'm going to kind of aim for a similar goal right now. What happens to me, sometimes I forgot what I just did, and I'll make the same move twice, which will look a little awkward when I play back. I'm trying to develop a better and better memory, especially while I'm talking during class. So every time you choose to do this really useful exercise, the idea is to upgrade what you did last time, make it more and more professional, more and more believable. And if you did it 100 times, it would continually get better and your insight would get better and more sensitive. If something goes radically wrong, turn on your mic, shout it out, because while I'm demonstrating, I don't always look at faces. While you're working, I'm going to mention common errors. A common error is, the thing did fall down, but it shrunk. And it feels shrunk. And that's one of the reasons why I'm widening out the bottom. The eye really won't accept it if it disbelieves the change in size. I didn't hit a second this time. I'm just going to get a peek. I'm hitting return. And I'm pretty happy with it. I could continue and have it flatten even more. And you know, it's an interesting thing. So, you know, I didn't ask you to go get a chocolate kiss and melt it, which is a little bit what mine looks like. But I have to say, I'm banking on the fact that you unconsciously know what feels right and what doesn't. Okay, I want to mention saving stuff, though none of these are required that you save them. But if you save them, you could double click your file anytime you want, and it'll open Animate for you and let you continue the exact same project. So when we save, the process is easy, but you want to save to a place that you're comfortable with. You know, if you're on your own computer, where do you like to save stuff? If you're in the habit of click and save without choosing a location, you're probably also in the habit of losing things. So we want to be more careful. I'm going to save this one. So I'm on the current document. I see I have 2 tabs out. Here's the last one. Here's the new one, right? I'm going to save the new one. So I'm going to the File menu, and I'm going to choose Save. Save As is if you want to change the name or the file type, but I just want to save it. In the past, I've seen operating systems that only had Save As, and if that's the case, pick it. But if you have Save, you save. The saving process on Mac and Windows is very, very similar, but I do want to point out a couple things. The file type you've been using is a .fla. Now, almost everybody here knows what a .jpg is, right? And the #1 type of photo, or JPEG, JPEG. Most of you know a GIF, .gif, and we're going to be making animated GIFs today. .mov, this is a .fla, and that comes from the parent, Flash. You know, it was originally a Flash file, but they're still called .flas. So, if your computer does not say .fla, it's still going to work, but I would rather you add .fla yourself. So I'm going to just call this ball, a second there, ball flattens. Listen, guys, I want to just throw something in. I am a web designer, so I often put this stuff on the web, but most web designers don't put spaces in names because code doesn't like that. So I'm in the habit of not using spaces in case anyone else is going to need to put it online. So I'm not really going to put that space there. I'm going to do ball dash flattens .fla. Now where you save it is up to you. I could save it into documents. I could go to this bar on the left called the sidebar and choose desktop. Go on my very messy desktop, right? I could have prepared a folder earlier, which probably would have been smart. But for right now, I think I'm going to save it loose to the desktop and clean it up later. So you give it a name, .fla, choose where you want to save it, and simply click Save. Okay. I do want to do a little bit more motion, and I'm trying to pick my battles intelligently because I also need to do a little bit more drawing with you so that the homework is more fun. I got a light homework for you, but, and again, those of you who can't work this week, don't worry, I'm going to extend that deadline to make sure that everybody can be included. But we're going to need a little bit more drawing power than circles and squares, right? I think I want to do a little bit more with the skills we just learned and then switch back to drawing. Now, if your computer is painfully slow, we probably don't want to leave all these documents out. So I'm going to give you an option right now. I'm going to ask you to open a new one, File menu, New. We know that it's going to be the same width, height, and frame rate, so we're going to click Create. Now, if you don't want the last two, you can go to the very last one, right? These tabs on top, and close it. Remember, you saved that one, so you get to keep it anyway, right? So I'm going to click it. There's a little X right next to its name. I'm going to click the X. If I went to the first one and tried the same thing, remember I never saved this one. So if I try the same thing on this one, it says save changes. Yeah, nah, I don't really need it. I have two. If I said yes, you'll give it a name and a home, but I'm going to say no. So I only have the new document out. I want to mention though, if your computer behaves really nicely, you could leave many of these open. Right? My computer here, by the way, I bought in 2016. So in dog years, is the same as computer years. It's old, to be honest. But it's a powerful computer, so I'm getting away with it, right? So again, you have to get to know your own machine. If you're having a hard time, shut all the other programs, close documents you're not using, let the computer focus on one thing. All right, we're about to try something harder, right? I want to see how much time we have, and I want to try an object that's not changing shape. What it's doing is it's going straight across the screen. Now, it's going to go from off screen, right? So look at my hand, right? It's off screen, right? It's going to keep going, and it's going to leave just the tail end on screen. Why? Because we're going to let it loop. And GIFs often loop, right? Animated GIFs. And that's going to feel like it's going round and round and round because I'm using the edges of the screen to kind of imply that something's entering and leaving, right? I'm also going to want to change its speed. So here's another concept. They say nothing in nature goes at a constant speed except for light itself. I'm not a physicist, and I don't want to argue with this, right? So I'm not talking about light right now. But objects you observe surely follow that. You get in a car, you can't start at 60 miles an hour. You want to sprint, you can't start at whatever your maximum speed is. Nothing starts at maximum speed. So if you want something to go fast, you have to learn how to make an object speed up. You guys ready? This should be interesting. All right, so here we go. I want to get back to a rectangle, and I'm looking for a rectangle something like this. You know, I don't want it very big, something like that. I'm going to get my black arrow because I want to change this a little bit. I'm clicking on it, and I want it to be more off stage. So you might need to Command minus if you can't see what you're doing, or Command plus. I do want to introduce you quickly to Command 3, sorry, did they change that? Command 2, which should show you everything. Yeah, they have changed this stuff. I wanted Command 3 and it did not show me all. Yep, that's not working. All right, we're going to stick with Command 2. This is what I'm looking for. Guys, I want to mention one more thing. It might be fun if we take the corner, remember the black arrow lets you do this, and tilt the object a little. You know, it's going to head right. So it's going to make it feel like something that wants to move. Okay, so if you looked on your timeline, the hollow keyframe turned black. So let me stop for a minute. We're currently working on one layer. Now, Photoshop users probably know something about layers, and animators need a damn lot of layers, right? I want to stick on one layer right now. But every layer starts with a keyframe. That hollow circle, and as soon as you draw, it turns black. You know somebody's living there, somebody's home, right? So we got this here, and we got the keyframe here. Guys, could you watch this for a minute or two before you join me? I'm going to F6. So I got to click inside, F6. I got my second drawing. I got my black arrow, and I'm going to move the object forward. I want to mention, if I had a stroke, I'd have to double click it. Otherwise, I'd leave the stroke behind. I don't have a stroke, so one click is enough. I'm going to drag it a little to the right. Now I'm going to do that over because I want you to see it closer for a minute. I'm going to drag it a little to the right. Do you see that there's like a kind of ghost image right behind me? As soon as I let go of the mouse, it disappears. But when you drag it and the mouse is still down, it's reminding you where you started. Now, the reason I'm making a big deal out of that is I want to copy that exact distance for 5 or 6 keyframes before the object speeds up. So I'm studying it before I let go. All right, I'm going to F6 again, and I'm going to imitate that. I studied the distance, and I'm going the exact same distance by eye. And I'm going to F6, and you're welcome to join me. I'm going straight, but I'm going the same distance till I hit 7 or 8 frames, I think is a good idea. Lots of F6ing. I know I'm on frame 8. I could count over here, but I could also look at the bottom underneath the timeline, and it should say the number of the frame you're currently in. I think 8's enough. It's 1/3 of a second, and I'm going to start actually making the object speed up. So here's the idea. 1, you want your audience to pay attention before you do anything important. So the first second of any TV show isn't particularly interesting. It's often a panning shot of a location or something like that. It's you know, so you stop texting and eating and actually watch the show. Oh, it started, you know, and then something happens. So I gave someone an instant to just notice something's moving. The next idea is it's going to accelerate. So imagine you just got out of the driveway. You know, you're on the street. I'm talking about driveways like we live in the suburbs or something. So let's say you're on the street, no one's in front of you, you're ready to actually speed up, right? You're going to start slow. You're not going to step on the gas. You know, and frankly, your car probably wouldn't even let you. So what's going to happen now is we're going to take steps, but this time, each step is going to be slightly longer than the last one. So each stride, so here's my first stride, 1, 2, 3. The next one's a little bigger. Then the next one's a little bigger. And the next one's even bigger. That's going to make you go further. So watch what I'm going to do. I did 8. I'm F6ing on, I've always got to click inside there, F6. Now what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go the same distance I just went, then a little bit more, and I'm going to stop and memorize that size before I let go. Why did I memorize it? Because I'm going to F6 again. This time I'm going to go that same distance that I memorized and a little bit more. Each time I got to stop and take a mental note. Okay, I want to go more than that next time. So I'll F6 again. I'm going about what I memorized from last time and a little bit more. In other words, what I'm calling a stride is getting larger. Now, the bigger the stride gets, the faster this thing's going to go, but it's in nature. All right, so that just took a much larger leap. And each time I can get faster and faster if I want to. I want you to see something. This is a half a second, but watch this object. Do you see it speed up? So I have a choice, right? I went from here to here. That's pretty large. When I F6 it, I could go that same distance if I wanted it to start evening out now. You know, it's going to stay this way. I'm on the highway or whatever. That would be about like that. If I wanted to keep going even faster, then I have to make the stride even larger. Again, if it was going to start to slow down, I'd do the opposite. But I'm going to have it speed up. So that was the largest step yet. And that last step was about this big. So the next one's going to have to be a bit bigger because, you know, it's speeding up, it's accelerating. The next one's going to be completely off stage. And, you know, I would have liked the tail to stick on, so maybe I will let it do that. I'm going to F6 again. Frankly, if I really wanted to accelerate, I have to go out here, but no one would see it. I really do want them to see the tail of it. So I'm going to cheat a little. Now, in a moment or two, I'm going to show you how to check this out looping. So I'm hitting return to watch that, you know, which is fine. But if my goal was to loop the animation, I want to study how the loop behaves. Let's stop for a second though. I think most of you are heading toward, want to head toward broadcast. So, you know, you maybe do the next Simpsons, you know, or something like that, something big on TV. Some of you are very open-minded. You just want to be creative. Maybe you'll wind up in advertising. I think there's probably a lot more work there because there's just so many commercials being made, right? But TV doesn't loop, not much. You know, internet ads used to loop. I think that will probably come back, but I want to share an idea with you. Even if you're doing a feature-length movie and the car keeps, it's a movie about cars, the wheels that turn, that's a loop. You know, because you really don't know how many times a wheel needs to turn to go from A to B. So you set the wheel up as a mini movie that loops by itself. So the logic of looping, we need. There's multiple reasons. All right, if you'd like to see yours loop, there's two ways you could try. Here's just playing it once. If you want it to loop in Adobe Animate, notice the menus on the top of the screen and go to the control menu. You choose loop playback. Now, if you do that, next time you play it, it will just keep playing. You'll hit return or enter to play. It'll keep playing until you hit return, enter again. So I'm going to try that first. Control menu, loop playback. I'm hitting return and it loops. There's only one problem. Your audience isn't going to see the offstage part. So you're still not having the experience that your audience is. Can we hide offstage? Finally, we can. Even 1 year ago, we couldn't do that yet. More recent versions of a lot of Adobe products have included this way to hide offstage. We're going to need to turn this feature on and off carefully. As the artist, you want to know what's offstage. For a little bit, we're going to take a peek at what it looks like to the audience. Above the stage is this thing that says center stage, this which is rotate the stage, this here, clip contents outside the stage. I just clicked it. This is what my audience is going to see. And I'm really happy with it. What it looks like is either this object's going round and round forever, or it's being followed by identical twins. But the mind completely buys that something is going on and on. Essentially, it's a seamless loop. If I have any musicians in here, or if you're into hip hop, rap music, those guys, they know a lot about seamless loops. You know, you're setting up a small rhythm, you don't want a hiccup in it if it's going to keep playing. This is the visual version of it. The eye just accepts it. Doesn't say, hey, wait a minute here. No, it's like accepts it. How'd your animation go? You know something? I think, let's see, do we have time? I want to try this exercise one more time, you know, and then I want to get back to drawing for a while. So if that one didn't go so well, don't worry about it, right? The people out in YouTube land, or you guys who are going to watch this again later, this is an exercise worth repeating for sure, right? So really we're focusing on frame by frame animation with acceleration, the thing accelerating.
Professor, can you
Yes.
show me how to do the loop? I was still finishing my
Sure. I'm going to go over the loop. Okay, let's do that first. So the way I'm showing you to loop right now goes like this. Taking a second. You go up to the control menu and choose loop playback. It won't automatically start looping. What it'll do is next time you play the movie, it'll loop then. Now, I do want to remind everybody of one thing I threw in there, this trim option. I don't want to leave it on, so I want to remind you what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this thing right here, this little box. If that's unchecked, I could see off stage, and as the artist, I'm usually leaving that like this. I know where my actors are, I know where my props are, but when I want to see from the audience's point of view, they only see what's in the camera. I'm going to come over here and click it. And you'll notice I can no longer see off stage. And so I could really experience what the loop's going to feel like, or what the experience of the audience is going to feel like. I'm going to undo that though, because I want you guys to see the whole thing. Did that help, Matthew?
Yes.
So guys, again, remember, if your computer's behaving, you can leave that open. If you want to work on it again later, save it. You know, file menu, save, and save it to a place that you could find, right? I want to do that one more time, but to keep those of you who found it easy, did anybody find that easy? It's okay, you can tell me. You know, give me one of these.
I found this easier than the balloon one because moving it slightly every couple of frames, it came hard to try and remember
To track it, right?
Yeah, track how you did it. Exactly.
You know what?
Yeah.
Dare I go into onion skinning right now? All right.
Wait, I know what that is. Can you wait for it? I know exactly what that is.
You do know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know
All right.
exactly.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So what we were just doing required a strange kind of memory. You know, especially when you're, you know, talking with the teacher and other stuff's going on. It's like, oh, I only moved it this, so next time I move it the same. All right, now I start speeding up, so I'm going to move it a little bit more than I did. How long was that? Next one's going to be even longer. In the class, I do a funny walk to make my point. And each step I take is a little bit bigger than the last one until it looks like I'm racing. It's the same logic. But there's a feature made for this. Some people find it confusing, but most people find it helpful, and it's called onion skinning. You know when you're looking at an onion and you start peeling the skin off, you could see through it? This idea is you could see through the current step at the last one to help you make better decisions. Let's see if it helps. All right, I'm going to stop this by hitting return. And I'm going to open up another one, File Menu, New. I'd like you to put a similar rectangle in a similar place. So I don't want it to be too big, right? Because we need the room for it to travel. You know, if this is huge, a huge object, you know, in an instant it'll be cross stage. So something like this. If you'd like to change the shape a little bit, you know what, let's not. I have a plan for that. I just want to leave it like this. All right, you got an object, you're in frame 1, it's black. We're ready to do the copy with F6. So I'm doing my F6 trick. Again, I need to hold the FN key on my laptop. And now I can see I'm on the second drawing, the second keyframe. Now, before I move it, I want to introduce this idea that I will review next week for sure. I'm going to review most of this next week. And I want you to notice this feature that I'm mousing over at the bottom. It's overlapping circles, and it says onion skin. I want to click it. Now, at first, you don't see anything of value. There's two little brackets on the timeline that are hard to see. But watch what happens when I go to my artwork and move it now. So even when I let go, I could see how far I went. Now, what's cool about that is I'm going to F6 again and move this one. And it's giving me echoes of the last couple steps. But I could tell I'm going at an even speed. That's because I turned this feature on called onion skinning. Now I'm going to continue with this feature turned on. So I F6. And one thing that starts to happen is you start to notice how many steps it's showing. So in my case, it's showing me the current one, the last keyframe, and the keyframe before it. That's because this is a bracket. If I stretched it out on the timeline, it'll show me even more. But I think this is perfect the way that it is. It's showing me 3 frames worth. So I'm going to F6 again. move it, and it's showing me again the current one and the two before it. So I'm hoping, Matthew and everybody else, that this helps. I'm still going at an even speed, right? Because it would be that way before you speed up, and because it helps the audience focus before anything important happens. So there's two good reasons to start at a constant speed, in my opinion. All right, so this looks good now, and I'm not guessing anymore. I'm on frame 5, so I'm going to do the precisely same thing a couple times more. And I was liking the way it felt when I got to frame 8, and here I am. I'm going to start accelerating now. And onion skinning is going to help quite a bit. So again, if anyone missed it, I'm pointing out this feature down here. And if you mouse over them, they all tell you what they are. Onion skin. So I'm going to F6 now. I'm over 1/3 of a second in. And when I move forward, I could tell this would be the same speed. But I'm going to go further. See how that gap is bigger than the prior one? Each one's going to be a little bit bigger now. The F6 again. And I could see it looks like I've matched the last one, but I'm going a little further than that. Look, I'll admit, the question of what is a little is hard to answer. What's a little? You know, you're going to find that out for yourself as we move forward. So I keep on matching the last one and then going a little further. I just switched tools by accident. It also looks like I just raised that up a little bit. I don't like that, so I'm going to come back down. There we go. So the idea at this stage is if you wanted to continue accelerating, every time you F6, you go a little bit further than you did the prior time. And after a little while, it's going to be huge, really long strides that the thing takes. I'm going to back up. I used Command 2 to see the entire stage. Control 2 on Windows. So if you're zooming in a lot, you might like that. This thing's going rather quickly. I'm getting very close to the other edge. And I'm following the rules. That looks about the same as last time, but I wanted to continue speeding up. So I'm going even further. It looks like I'm only going to get one more to zip right across the stage. And that landed very nicely for me because I do prefer the tail sticking in for the sake of the loop. Now to actually play it, when you're ready, unclick onion skinning. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to unclick it. And I'm going to just hit return to see how that feels. Pretty good. I imagine you're still working, so I'm just going to say some background stuff. About loop playback, each document needs its set. So this one is a new document. It doesn't know I want it to loop. I have to go back to the control menu. The last one would still loop, but this one doesn't know, right? Each one has to be told. So I'm going to turn on my loop, control, loop playback, and I'm going to play it again. If I want to hide the off-screen elements, I got this cool new feature. So I don't have to leave the program. And I'm very, very happy with it. I want to say a couple things about that and then return to a little bit of drawing today. The thing I find most challenging in animation is timing. So I want to tell you, I've done a lot of motion graphics, and I'll show you some at some point. And I'm moving further into character animation. But even when it was just text flying around for an advertisement, what's interesting You know, if the text comes out, you know, you're selling a car and it says $300 a month and the text slides out like that, who's interested? If the text goes super fast, no one's interested. But if it's just the right speed, or maybe it even bounces back, people care and they're going to look. And that's a gut level thing. You know when a comedian has great timing, and you know when they don't. You know, and it really, when it comes to the arts, time-based arts, we want to get increasingly sensitive to timing. So I like my little thing zipping along there, you know, but if I really wanted it to imply that it's the fastest on Earth, I would have taken longer strides than I did. And that thing would have gone from slow to like fast, much faster. And to find the sweet spot is what we're after. Anybody have any questions about all that stuff? You know, you turn on your mic. You know, Tiffany's keeping an eye on the chats for me, I guess. Right, Tiffany? Tiffany, I forgot.
Yeah, so if anyone really wants to write anything onto the chat,
Hey, Tiffany,
feel free.
I forgot something that I promised to do. You know, you
My
sent
lab
me,
hours?
yeah, about your lab hours. Hey, is it too much to ask you to do something? Really,
No, what do you need?
You know, I suppose putting it in the chat is good enough. I'm tempted to ask you to just write it out or put it in Microsoft Word and screen share for a minute, you know, so people could take screenshots of it or something like that. Do you want to rig something like that up for me? And then we'll switch to screen share. You could just show it to us somehow.
Yeah, I could do that.
So Tiffany is going to be doing lab hours, which essentially are office hours when I can't make it. She's been through this several times with me, and she's talented and friendly. So I would take advantage of it. But she could tell you herself what her rules are, because I'm sure she doesn't want to sit there waiting for people. So you could set the rules about, you know, whether they need to reach you first or however you want to handle it. So you tell me when you want to screen share, when you're ready. In the meantime, I'll just move forward, all right? Unless you're ready right now. Now, let me give you a couple minutes. You tell me when you're
I
ready.
should be good.
What's that?
I think I'm good.
You're
It's
good?
just, yeah.
All right, I'm going to turn off my screen sharing. Tiffany's going to tell you what she needs to tell you if you want more support time regarding this particular class, which I believe is going to prove to be very, very valuable. Let me turn off my screen share. Stage is yours.
Goodness. All right, there we go.
It's all right, it takes getting used to all this stuff.
Did it work?
It says that you started screen sharing. Did you choose screen from the options? Excellent.
Cool.
All right, I like it. So Wednesday and Sunday?
Wednesday and Sunday. I would like an email first to let me know if they're going to show up and what time they'd like to show up.
Sorry, where's your email?
She's writing it right now. In
Sorry.
real time.
It's
Who needs
that
this in the world?
one or this one. I check those both all the time. If you can see that.
You know, Mac people, Command-Shift-3 is a fast screenshot. Anyone know how to do a screenshot on Windows?
There's usually a button that says print screen.
Oh, yeah?
On the top is like PRTSC.
Oh.
That
Mac
usually
Command-Shift-3 is one way to do it. Or you could just copy down what you want.
So there's the link to my Zoom. The meeting ID is there, and you need to put in the passcode to come into the to the thing.
I took a screenshot, even though I have that information.
So Wednesdays, I'd be there from 12:30 to 5:30, and Sundays 1 to 3. So
That's excellent. That makes me really happy. Guys, I just want you to know, Tiffany is the right hands to be in. She's been doing this with me. I think this is our third semester or fourth semester. At least the third.
I think the third.
The third. So she's done every exercise more than once. She sometimes sends me really funny versions of them. She turned me into an owl on one of them. No, I'm actually talking, but I'm an owl. It was pretty fun. So anyway, you're in good hands. So I hope that time works for some of you. Again, we're staying in contact via email to see what we can do to be helpful. Thank you. I'm going to go back to screen sharing, everybody. Does anyone have a question for Tiffany? You guys are very reserved about questions. Maybe we're just being like crystalline clear. I hope so. You know, by the way, I turn into an idiot in about an hour from now. So you're lucky. We're in the window of my intelligence. Friday early afternoon, that's it. The work week got to me and I'm like, huh? All right, anyway. So I want to get back to it. Thanks, Tiffany. I'm going to screen share now. I just want to say a little bit about drawing in this program. And to do that, I want to mention something about the homework before we even go there, right? So bear with me. I'm just going to get that handout in front of us. So this is, you know, this is a simple homework that gives you a lot of leeway. I showed you a bunch of student work last week, right? Didn't I show you a bunch of GIF animations? Right? So I'm not going to do that again. I was tempted, but I showed you early. So it says create an animation using one layer or more. Now, we didn't do layers today, right? Maybe I'll squeeze that in if possible. Other than that, anyone who feels like they could figure it out on their own shouldn't be shy. One layer is acceptable, though. Use frame by frame animation, which is all that we've covered in the way of motion. Now, here's what I want from you. I want an occurrence with a beginning, a middle, and an end. So if we were talking about just day-to-day life, well, maybe they're the ball and then something hits it and then it deflates. Please don't do that, right? I want something original, but there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Kids holding the ice cream, you see the sun in the background, the ice cream melts, right? And then he's just holding a cone. Beginning, middle, and end, right? So if you're going narrative, hear me out, storytelling, right? Keep the story super simple, really simple. You saw how much work this is, right? So don't go telling me wild stories unless you really have that kind of time and that kind of energy just yet. Simple, simple. Now, can you do this abstractly? Now I want to ask you a question. If you listen to instrumental music, does it have a beginning, middle, and end? Does instrumental music usually end the same way it began? Of course not. Right? Music follows the exact same rules that we're following. It gets your attention. It creates some kind of set of expectations. It changes the expectations, and it ends in some conclusion. Ta-da! The drummer hits the cymbals, or whatever the story is, right? So if you want to get abstract, using circles and squares like we did in class, make it beautiful. Make it interesting. It will should still have, don't make it random. Random, I'll probably ask you to do it again. Have some sense of, I could make these shapes interesting, right? So you don't have to tell me a story, but a sense of a beginning and a middle and an end, right? I want to go over a few things because I have to show you how to make a GIF. It's 12:25, so I think I want to skip to a couple quick things, you know, and see what we could do with the time that's left. We spent a lot of time talking about technology today. I'm going to have to avoid that next week. Let me get back into Animate. All right, folks, if you're wiped out right now, do your best to concentrate for another 15 minutes or so with me. First off, to make your homework more interesting, you might want a background color. Luckily, that's crazy easy. So join me for a moment. With your black arrow, click somewhere that's empty. Don't click on an object, click somewhere that's empty. Now, when you do that, the properties palette switches from object to doc, which is the document. You know, if you selected an object, it's going to stay there. So I'd like you to click on the document on empty stage and notice this, stage with a white box. I'm going to click the white box. Now this whole thing is considerably more interesting as soon as I do that. Very easy. So note takers, click the stage with your black arrow, go to the properties palette and simply click the stage color and choose a different one. Did it work? All right, I see no agony. Do I just assume? Yes, thank you, Zheng. I got a thumbs up. Excellent, thanks, Jake. All right, everybody. So I want to mention a couple other things. What about making the GIF for the homework? Right? So about the GIF for the homework. All right, you guys ready? The first thing you ought to do is save the original. That means save the FLA and then output, export a GIF. So I'm going to stop this one because it's driving me nuts. Hit return or enter. And I'm going to save it because I didn't save this one yet. File menu, save. Join me. I'm going to simply call this one mover.fla. And you save it wherever you can remember that you saved it. Today I'm using the desktop. That's a little messy. I'm probably going to stop doing that soon. But I'm going to save it to the desktop. Mover.fla. I click save. I could open that anytime I want and continue it. But right now my main interest is to export a file. I really don't want you guys sending me FLAs. So if you want credit for the homework, read the box at the end of the handout to remind you what we need. All right, here's how you make a GIF. Let's go back to the file menu to export. Export animated GIF. I want to say quickly, those of you going into multimedia and animation, video, all these related fields, you often have to export different versions of the exact same thing, right? Animated GIFs are perfect for us right now because they're small, they're easy to deal with, but they're not going to last because they don't have sound. So once we get into sound, we're going to have to go and make videos instead. Right now, I want an animated GIF. Please click that. Now this takes a couple of seconds for some computers to get to. And I want to show you a couple things. It looks like a lot of steps, but it isn't. There's very little to do here, right? I do want to mention one quick thing though. Over here, where it says transparency, make sure that it's not checked. Because if it is, you lose the background color. And the idea is someone could put this over a video, in a video program, or they could layer it into something else, put it over a website. Right now we want our own background color, so make sure it's not checked. But everything else is correct by default. I do want to show you though at the bottom, depending on your size of your screen, there's a little collision down here. These are these done and saved, but behind it on my screen it says looping and I could barely get to it. The default is forever. Or you could have it play once. I'm going to leave it on forever. All right, all you have to do then, basically I'm saying you probably have no changes to make. But the only two I even look at is transparency off? That's good. Is it looping the way that I want? Either once or forever. Simply click save. So what it wants to do is name it after the original. Name it after the FLA. So it says mover.gif. That's perfect. If it doesn't say .gif, why not type it in? I have to tell you though, different computers see this differently. So we'll come back to this subject. But I like it when you could actually see the extension. This is a GIF, so save it. I want to quickly demonstrate the best way to preview your GIF. So GIFs are made for the internet. And the best way to see one is to drag it into a browser. I'm going to do that on my Mac so you can get a look at it. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to hide Animate for a minute. And if you want to join me, you can. And an easy way to do that is go up to the menus where it says Animate, the Animate menu, and choose Hide Animate. It'll be open. It's just putting it aside. Now, what I'm going to do is drag things around a little bit because I made a big mess. I got to find mover. I'm sorry, I got so much stuff out. Not the way a teacher should behave. Here's mover.gif. So I got it where I could see it. I'm opening a new tab in the browser. I'm just going to drag it into the browser. I'm going to drag and drop it. That's my GIF. It gives you an idea what that size feels like on a website. I'm very happy with it, right? And I could leave that anytime I want. So basically, I'm just saying drag it into a browser. I got a question though. Windows people, did that work the same for you? Were you able to drag and drop it?
I can't save it. That's the problem. I can't save it as a GIF.
Did you do, because it looked like you stepped away from the computer. Did you see the demonstration? Let's just take that. Give me a second. All right. I suggest you save it first as an FLA the usual way, right? So you have an original. I may mean to make a GIF and a video. And there's even more formats. When you're ready though, Matthew, we're going to do File menu, Export, Export Animated GIF. Did you, right? Is that what your mic's off so I can't hear you? You
I clicked on it. Sorry.
You got it? So
Yeah.
guys, listen, like I said, as long as you remember that, you could do the homework, right? And you can make GIFs, right? There were really, we made no changes. I
So
pointed out.
Professor, the
Yes.
homework is make a GIF and then put it in the Dropbox, but make sure it's a GIF first and then
So
put it in the Dropbox.
you make the FLA on your device, save it on your device, export the GIF on your device. Then you're going to drag it into the Dropbox. So watch this, because these are really good questions, and I appreciate them. Here's the instructions. Let me move stuff away on my screen. And it says, get the link to our shared Google Drive. Watch this. I'm going to click the link. So here's the shared Google Drive. I got to move stuff around again to find it. So let's say this was the homework. There's no way I'm going to accept this as homework. It has to be original. I'm going to take this and drop it right here. And now I have access to it. Now the only thing that I want to say to you, which I should not have skipped. So your teacher, I guess, is, my brain is starting to fail. Give me a second here. Getting back to that handout. Here's the only thing. You have to rename the GIF. So this is the only name I'm going to accept. I'm going to do it, right? Just in case any of you are not comfortable doing that. I could have named the FLA the right way first. That might have been helpful. But since I didn't, I'm only really concerned that the GIF has the right name. So check this out. It says here, name it 2D animation 2. I just think what I'm going to do. I'm going to just copy it. And I'm going to go right to the GIF. Only because I have a bad memory. When you're ready to rename it, one way is find the GIF, click the name once, wait a second, and click it again to highlight it. I don't want you to double click because it might try to open in a program. I just want to rename it. So I could click on it once, then click it again and rename it. It says to change the first name and last name. So Joe Smith, if he was taking my class, this is the proper name. 2D animation here. I'm gonna move it in here so you could see what I mean. There's the Google Drive. So you rename it, open up Google Drive. I'm gonna just throw that stuff out later. Drag it in. And I have it. Does that help? That's good.
Yes, it helps a lot. Yeah, it helps a lot.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking, seriously, because, these are really good questions. And, some of it sounds simple, some of it doesn't, but nothing's simple when you got a lot, going.
Ira,
Tiffany.
Harold says that he's unable to export it because the pop-up window won't let him scroll to the saving option.
Did he tell you what the pop-up said?
No.
Hey, Harold, do you not have a microphone? Because if you don't have a microphone, I understand why you're chatting. Or maybe you like Tiffany better than me. And who wouldn't? But we need to know what your pop-up says. You guys, everybody in here, when you need tech support the tech.
I think it's the same issue I'm having. It won't let me scroll up. So,
Okay, so he's not using his mic because his room is loud right now.
That's
a lot of disturbing, like a lot of just noise.
So I don't know. Let me take another look, see if we could figure it out. All right, here I am. I'm doing File menu, Export animated GIF. Now, what I want to know from Harold is he getting this far? And what I want to know from you, Matthew, are you getting this far?
Yes, I've gotten this far, but the bottom part where it says export it and where it says forever done and cancel and save, that I don't see. I just see the top part of it, and I can't scroll up or down.
Oh, God, you know what? This is so not your fault. I completely blame this on Adobe. This window has always been too large, and it doesn't agree with everybody's monitor, and your monitor settings. And I had trouble with this in my own labs at school. So I've got to tell you a cheap fix. If you hit return or enter, that means save. So unfortunately, for a little while, you may not be able to make any changes to the GIF. It'll save with the defaults, but that's good enough for the homework. So if you can get this window open, just click return. That's the same as clicking save. It'll open the save window.
Yeah, I see it. It did it.
All right. So that's not my favorite solution, but it will work for the time being. Tiffany, do we have any luck with Harold, or are you learning about what's going on for him?
It was basically the same issue. He just couldn't scroll down.
Gotcha. So, guys, one thing that I don't really want to look into because we have really too much on our hands already is do you need to change your screen resolution? If you own that computer, you could change the screen resolution, and high numbers fit more things. If your monitor's set to a low resolution, all the objects look oversized.
Where would I go to change the resolution for it?
Mac, Matthew?
Huh?
Are you on a Macintosh?
No, I'm on
on Windows? Adele. So give me 1 second for a minute. Anyone on a Mac, just so you can take a peek. On a Mac, you go to the Apple menu in the top left to System Preferences. Once you're in System Preferences, you look for Monitor Displays, And here, it's setting a default display, but if I click Scaled, I could try stuff. I really don't like the way it works on this version. It used to give me numbers. This is larger. That's not what I want. This is smaller. It's a little daring for me to do this in the middle of class, but what the hell? Well, what do you know? So now I could actually see everything. I couldn't do that at school. So Mac people, then I'm gonna, I need to say a quick word and I'm gonna ask Tiffany if she could help regarding Windows. On a Mac, Apple menu, system preferences, next, to displays. If it's set to default, you click scaled and move one notch to the right. See if that works. Guys, I need to say something quickly before before I ask Tiffany something. It's 12:41, which means I kept you a minute late. And I'm trying to be respectful and avoid that. You might have a class right after mine or work or something else or just dying for a break. So I'm going to try to time myself better. The reason this is taking so long is just because we're not in the labs. You know, many of these questions wouldn't even be on the table, you know, if we were physically at the labs. So if you have to leave right now, please leave. I'm not insulted. I want to wish you a best long weekend. It's a 3-day weekend, right? I may not check emails over the weekend, but I probably will just because we're starting the semester. I want to wish everybody a good weekend. I'm going to stick around a few minutes. Tiffany, can you stick around a few minutes?
Sure.
Right. I am going to continue recording. However, as far as I know, are you guys still getting the recording symbol?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
still up there, Professor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's showing.
Maddening that I don't get that. What is going on? It goes on and off. All right. So, you know, if you need to come back later, you could watch the end of the video, right? The link is on the handout. Tiffany, I forget. I've asked you 100 times and I still forget. Are you using a Mac or Windows?
Windows.
Yay! This is perfect for our class. We could represent both platforms. Do you know how to change the display settings?
Well, you usually just have to go to your regular settings.
Do you want to screen share? I'm going to let you screen share. I'm stopping my sharing.
Okay. Okay, so usually it's down here. Well, for me, it's down here. The little gear symbol, that's your settings.
All right.
If it wants to open up. My laptop's slow. Wow. Okay, so, and then just system. And then display. And usually down here, there's the resolution one that comes up.
Gotcha.
Mine's already.
So higher numbers show you more stuff. So if you can't see certain buttons, you need a higher number, right? I notice you're at 1366. Are you able to see everything in the export window?
Yeah, usually when I have the animate up, I can see it all.
So that looks like a reasonable resolution she's using. That's a display setting in numbers, which I really like. That's the actual number of pixels we're looking at. Thank you. Anybody have
Actually, I'm on the same one, but it still gave me the same thing.
Good day. I'm Bob the Necromancer.
you still can't see? So, you know, one thing that sometimes happens, I doubt it, but sometimes when you change screen resolution in the middle of working, anything you have open doesn't like it. I've fixed that on occasion by expanding the window, you know, like clicking this green button on a Mac. Sometimes I've actually had to quit a program and reopen it. Now, right now, I got to say, if anyone's continuing to have that problem, you may need to look the problem up online. It helps to know what kind of computer you're on. But I will say, I'm going to extend one small invitation just for this 1 week. If you cannot solve the GIF problem this week, you can send me the FLA instead, because nobody had a problem saving the FLA. So for a little while, I'm going to accept that. But Matthew,
No, I was able to save the GIF. It's just that I still can't see it when I export it.
all right. So we'll keep an eye on it. It really should just be the screen resolution. Guys, I really wanted to show you more drawing, and the class is really over. So anyone who wants to leave should feel free to leave. I'm going to do this kind of quickly, so at least it's available on video for anybody who still wants to see it. So this is going to be a little short bit about freehand drawing, and it really isn't difficult to get a start on. So I think I could show you in 5 minutes. So I'm going to do it now.
I had a question before you start that.
Yeah, sure.
What you call it? Because I was a little late coming to class. I
Okay.
didn't catch the part where like you explained of like the computers and stuff.
You're
And
gonna have to watch the video, because that's why I need for people to be on time. And luckily, I videotaped everything. So just open up the handout. It'll take you to YouTube. You'll see the video link. This I'm going to post. It's going to take about 2 hours to post, but I really can't go over that because you could ask anyone here. It was a long conversation. So the handout, if that doesn't give you enough information on the handout, please watch the YouTube video. I really can't bear to repeat it. It was so lengthy. Guys, so I'm going to have to use this time for this specifically. I'm going to open up a new document just to show you this. I'm opening the same kind of document we've been using. I want to mention this tool. This is the pencil tool, and it's great for freehand drawing. This at the bottom here tells
Not screen sharing, Professor.
Oh, gee, thank you. All right. All right, I opened a new document, so we're looking at a blank page just now. And I've gotten the pencil tool that's on the toolbar. Once you choose tools, the toolbar actually changes a little bit. Different elements show up at the bottom. I'm picking this pencil here, and there's this little curved line. Straighten won't help you draw. Smooth will. So I want to show you something. Let's say I'm drawing with the pencil tool. You might notice that it started with a stroke. All right, let me delete that. So I'm going to change my stroke color, and the stroke was way thick. So I'm going to change it down to a very small stroke, under 5 points. Now I draw. Now the thing is, my hands are shaky. Oh, what just happened? But it smoothed it out a little bit. So what I'm going to do is stop when I have to, continue right on the line, make sure that I leave no gaps. And why does that matter that I leave no gaps? I want to show you why in a minute. If there's no gaps, I could get the paint bucket. So I consider the pencil tool and the paint bucket a team. The paint bucket will let me fill it with the current fill color. Now, if it doesn't work, it's because I left a gap. I want to show you what I could do to fix it. The best way to draw in this tool with a mouse especially, or a touchpad, is if you let go, don't try to match the line, cross the line. Now I'm going to show you what I mean in a minute. So I'm going to cross that line, and I'm imitating this, right? So it's not stylistic choice. I'm saying if you let go and cross the line, there's a number of things I'll be able to do after. I hope that crossed down there. I can get the black arrow and just delete the parts that stick off. Now I'm going to spend a lot of time on this semester. But that should have closed the object. Here's the paint bucket now, and I was able to fill it. The biggest problem with drawing with the pencil tool is unclosed objects. If you want to fill them with color, you have to embrace the idea of closing objects up. Next week, I'm going to have to make a big deal out of this. And I could still change stuff. I could still use all the elements that you learned today, right? So I'm going to have a lot of freedom about what I do with this, but that's the idea, right? Everything that we learned earlier today is still true, right? So there's all kinds of interesting things that I can do with that original drawing. I just want to go over something real quick. Anyone who has to leave, that's the gist of it. So today's homework is gonna, we'll see what you can do. It's really a bit of an experiment, right? I'll be more demanding as we go forward, but right now I'm feeling rather reasonable, right? So if one, figured out methods of drawing that made sure that things cross, or that you just don't lift your pencil, right? You'll be able to close them well. Now, it's hard not to lift if you're on a touchpad, which is what I'm on. But maybe what I could do is just kind of cross over things while I figure out what I want. At least I know it's closed. That's not closed. Watch this. See that? I could grab it with the black arrow and cross it now. It's kind of incredible. After that, I'll go back and I'll delete what I don't want. Which is interesting to me that the program can even figure out what's, the main line and what isn't. What about this little thing? That's kind of weird, this one, isn't it? I'm going to leave it be. It looks like they're crossing. I think so. So again, this, when it gets to really busy drawing, this is when we're going to start to separate and people are going to like, no, I really want a tablet. But this is the general gist of it, something we're going to go over, right? Anyway, as long as that thing's closed, the paint bucket should behave. You pick a color and you pour it in.
I think I might be one of those people who get the tablet.
All right. It's even with the tablet, it's going to take a while.
My
Really.
laptop works as like a tablet and a laptop itself, so I guess I'm lucky.
Is it a Surface?
It's a Yoga, the Lenovo Yoga laptop.
Really? Yoga like YOGA?
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool. I'm so jealous of those computers, I can't even tell you. I love my Mac, and I'm so used to my Macs. What's taking them so long into just selling them with touchscreens when Windows figured this out a couple of years ago? It's driving me absolutely crazy. And on Macs, you could buy them, and they're just crazy expensive. People have started to do that. They've been buying the drawing tablets. Again, I've been very happy with my XP pen, XP-pen. It didn't break the bank, and I can look at everything. For those who are that, you are lucky. But those of us who are on, plain old computers, we're going to just work with what we've got. And I'll answer more questions going forward. Guys, folks, I have gone over time, and I really feel bad about doing that. Again, I hope you could tell that I'm earnest. I really mean to deliver this semester, and I'm really earnest for those of you who are working hard, even though you couldn't get into Adobe today, or you don't have a computer currently, and this whole variety of issues that we talked about. I felt bad not being able to answer Naftali's question, but really after having spent 1 hour on that topic, there was just no way I was going to revisit it, especially since it's videoed. So guys, I want to wrap this up to review the homework, to get a little map of what we discussed. Just go straight to the handout. There's the link to the videos as of last week, the first video. This video is going to start cooking as soon as I stop the meeting. It takes Zoom about an hour at least these days to make that video. Then I have to see if there was any weird beginning, because sometimes it records before I arrive. Then I have to cut all that stuff off. It's a bother. So it may take a couple of hours before today's video is available. It'll definitely be up by tomorrow. I should never say definitely. That's what I think. So for now, does anybody have a last question for me before I take off?
Professor?
Shoot.
I'm not sure if this is mentioned before, but what about those who couldn't access Adobe? Or if it's mentioned before, we can look back on it?
You're not going to like this answer because I don't like this answer.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I would search everything you could think of, because you could bet people have figured this out. Mm-hmm. During the break, I wrote the director of this course. We have course coordinators. Mm-hmm. So I wrote the course coordinator for this. I even wrote the course coordinator for my other class, only because I feel bad for Chris Stein, who's the head of the department, who must have 6 arms because he does so many things at once. You know, the last times I've done this, the problems were generally simple. Like the instructions asked for a certain login, but the login had to be different, or student had to cancel old accounts and open a new one. That's very likely to be the problem. I was very tempted to ask you both to do that, who couldn't get in. Rather, if you had an account before, in your case. But I really don't want to stick my neck out and give suggestions for fear that they might get worse. So if I get an answer anytime soon, I'm going to send that answer to the whole class. So you'll have to check your BMCC email.
Okay.
We need an answer, I realize. I just can't promise it because I'm not the one in the driver's seat for that. The only thing I can do is make sure all the deadlines are extended, as long as you need. Anybody else have a question?
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for being patient. Guys, listen, you're heroic, all of you in different ways. This is a very strange time to be learning. But you know what? It's a stranger time to not be learning. You know, I mean, when times get tough, store up what you need for better times. Learn a skill. You know what I mean? If you have to climb into the cave, bring tools with you. Do something of value. And then when the climate clears, you come out, you got new power. So as hard as this has been because of different computers, no computers, Chromebooks, software that's free, software that's not free, oh my God, we're going to make a go of this one way or another. Hey, Joseph, did you have a question for me? I see your box is lit up.
Oh yeah, no, I just wanted to say that if I can't get it probably resolved, I might as well buy the one from Animate, Adobe Animate.
Buy it yourself. You have a computer currently?
Yeah.
Just curious, what kind of computer?
It's Windows.
Windows, and how old would you say it is, roughly?
It has a Core i7. I don't know how well that is.
Does anybody speak that? Know what? I'm not a good hardware guy. So you'll find out. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it doesn't have to be new. It just, you know, I had it once.
Like I have Photoshop and Illustrator, but those were pirated in, so like I'll probably just get the Animate.
So look, Joseph, that's definitely your choice to make. I've never bought one or I haven't in years anyway, bought an individual program. But if you choose to do that, I'd be curious to know what it cost, because it might just be a few dollars less than getting the whole suite. You know what I mean? So if you're talking like a $6 difference per month, you might want to just get the whole suite. And this way you can get the newest Photoshop and Illustrator and all the fun tools that go with this. So anybody in here who can invest and chooses on your own to invest, let's be blunt with each other. It's always better having your own tool for anything. Better having your car than borrowing your friend's car. You know, it's better to own an apartment than to lease one. You don't always have the money, so we do what we can. But you could make that choice yourself. There's no doubt it would resolve a lot. So I respect what he just said. But Joseph, you know, choice is yours.
I'll try to get it resolved though, but if it's not, then I'll probably just use that. It's better than making a new email account every week.
So are you an animation major?
Yes.
So, you know, Ethan, I got to tell you guys something. I was only a fine artist by choice. And for many years, I still make loads of fine art always. But when I moved into commercial art, I just was broke. So I had to travel an hour each way to get to the labs, to do the homework. It was driving me crazy. I had the usual lab problems people have. And then eventually, I borrowed the last bit of money I could eke out of the world. You know, it was a scary decision because, you know, there was no place to go after that. I had literally tapped out any resource. So I borrowed that just enough to get my own equipment. And I made myself a solemn oath. I'm going to win. I'm not going to borrow that much without winning. And I worked like a dog. And you know what? The good news was I got my first job in under a year. And I was able to foot the bill. So it turns out my gamble was a good one. You know, I knew that I was the type of person who wasn't going to waste that gamble. So I'm not recommending anybody here borrows money or uses a credit card, but know thyself. You know, if this is what you always wanted to do, you often get A's because you're a hard worker or whatever evidence you have. I don't know. Maybe you consider it like another student loan. I don't know. I mean, again, the choices are yours. In the meantime, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to keep my investigations on getting those free Adobe accounts to work for everyone. To do my best, I know smart people, and I'm going to hit them all up if necessary. I'm going to work further on getting a solid answer from the department about good computers for those of you who don't have any, right? So if you didn't let me know about it, you have no one to blame, right? That door is going to close soon, and there's not an infinite number of computers either, or they would have gotten it to us already. People who needed Chromebooks were already able to order them, but I was told not to do that in this class because they think they're not good enough for our particular needs. And you know, by the way, I'm gonna know because I'm gonna be teaching a lightweight version of this in my Intro to Multimedia class, and a lot of those people are on Chromebooks. But if they have luck, then I'm gonna actually invite you guys to do the same. Those of you who need it. There's half the class. You know, that's a suffer situation. You know, frankly, since we're all after class, I want to tell you something heart to heart. Why can't schools say there are requirements before you take a class? It's like a prerequisite. You can't take my class without MMP 100. You can't take this class then without this list of equipment or the willingness to go get it. You know, if that was online, when people chose the class, they'd be like, uh-oh, I don't have this. I'll take a different class. You know, but they wouldn't let me do that. I have to surprise people week one. You need this. What? You know, so that's just crummy. I think that's because the school's just not prepared for this. You know, if we go officially remote, I was told, by the way, when COVID is over, they're likely to give me a choice. Do I want to keep doing this? Or do I want to go back to the classroom? And if I agree to continue doing this, because I actually like it, I'm only going to do it if they promise me that I get that prerequisite. Then only students who agree. Otherwise, they'll be told first week, withdraw now. You know, and I could say that openly because they were forewarned. Oh, you accidentally took a class that you don't have the equipment for. But right now, that's not it. So I got to spend hours and hours and hours. Man, yesterday, I think I was first in line to do remote access. I got the first set of lightweight instructions. I just couldn't wait. Is it possible? Can I really work in the school lab from this room? And I got as far as Adobe. I got in. It was a little awkward, but I got in. I wish it was my own labs. You know, I teach on the 10th floor. I'll say I couldn't get into my own lab. So sure enough, I got in there, knew my name. It was weird. You know, but I couldn't get Adobe to work either. I could have used my own private login, right? But the whole idea is I wanted to prove the BMCC method could work before I give you the instructions. But right now, I'm thinking, look, if the free subscription doesn't work, I don't think remote access is going to work either. You know, there's something up. So I'm holding off until I can get more feedback from the people in charge. They're doing a good job, but it's just difficult, so it's going slowly.
Thank you.
Right. Any last questions? This is a real last question. Option. You know, folks, I hope there was some pleasure in this. Those of you who joined me, I hope you had some success. Those of you who didn't, I hope we're just building up some useful tension so that you could just bust out when your equipment is available. In the meantime, let me wish you a happy weekend. Good weekend. Guys, please stay safe. Wear a mask for God's sakes. You're outside. I mean it, man. We're all so bored of it, right? It's like, to hell with my mask. Last few days, I walked out without a mask. You know, I had to turn around and walk right back in the house. You know, we lost tens of thousands of people in New York alone. Gee, I don't want to be the one who gives that to my neighbor or my wife or myself. So I'm diligent. I'm washing my hands when I've got no reason to wash my hands. And I'm definitely wearing the mask. And look, between us, this is really off the record. I'm going to stop sharing, by the way. Bye, YouTube people. See you soon.
Oh,
I didn't end the meeting. I just ended the screen share.
so I was looking back at my screen resolution and I can't see the bottom either.
Oh, you can't.
So no,
We
I
gotta
can't.
go. This is Adobe, man. This has nothing to do with us. I've had this
So-
most of the time. That export window is funky, and they gotta fix it for God's sakes. Really.
Mhm.
You know, the problem with Adobe is they don't have competition, so they do what they want. You know, they're gonna get your money eventually. They know it. So they just like, you know, what makes us the most money? Let's make sure that one is like, you could bet Photoshop is the tightest ship they have. You know,
And I can't scale anything smaller than what it is right now.
So Tiffany, we're going to just have to do workarounds. We're going to have to hack our
Mhm.
way around some of this stuff. But that's the computer life, really.
Yeah.
So look, I'm going to bow out. I was about to get political, and I really am trying to wean myself off from doing that in the classroom. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but you know. Listen, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but vote for someone who might care about you and who might care about the person who looks different than you, right? And a person who wants to stop people from dying, right? So if you know a candidate who sounds like they might care about you and the rest of us, who also cares about other people's welfare in general and people dying, please vote for the one who cares. In the meantime, people who are telling you that spaceships have landed and they are faking COVID, or that 30,000 people did not die locally, that we're imagining it, right? Please turn your back on those people, or take a walk around your neighborhood and ask people, right? And watch them as they get really angry for you doubting people that they loved, who they don't have anymore. You know, I'm really tired of a lack of compassion leading what we choose to believe, like it's a sports team, you know? Who's more entertaining? You know, it reminds me so much of World Federation Wrestling. You know, people love watching the mean guy. You know what I mean? Really, the guy with the big gold belt. You know, they don't care if he cheats because it's entertainment, and that's different, you know? But when it comes to life, you don't vote for who's entertaining. You know, you vote for someone who cares. That's the way we organized our system. You know, frankly, a lot of people who don't care because they haven't met enough of the other. They live in a given neighborhood that's, you know, when I was a child, everyone my parents knew had the same background. It was unbelievable. Same religion. Their parents came from the same country because they were first generation. You know, it was crazy. There was no way to learn about anybody. As soon as I started to meet people, by the way, my current family, mixed marriage family, we cover just about every race available in the United States. And it makes you care when you meet other people and you realize they're not demons. So anyway, let's look forward to a compassionate near future. I'm looking forward to a vaccine. I'm looking forward to burning my masks in a bonfire out behind the house. I'm gonna play music and ring bells, say goodbye to the mask. But not yet. In the meantime, I'm staying brave. You know, all my heroes stayed brave. So many of the best artists survived World War II. You know, Picasso made art about it, and that's how he dealt with it. You know, and he didn't go hide. He didn't lie to himself. Tried to stay aware and harness that energy for their own creative, your creative life. By the way, I don't just mean making art. Life's creative. Being kind is creative. When do you just smile? When do you just listen? When do you give advice? When do you feed someone? When do you ask for a hand? Those are creative decisions. One has to stay alert. Folks, I'm done preaching. I do it too much. I want to wish you all a great weekend. I'll see you all next Friday. You're going to probably hear from me much sooner than that because we have a lot of questions to answer. So I'm going to put announcements on Blackboard that'll automatically zap to your BMCC email. See you all. Thanks, Tiffany, especially. See you, Daniela, Matthew, Nassim, Jacob, Callista, Kayla. See you all next Friday.
Hi, Professor.
Bye-bye.
Professor. Have a good weekend.